Hey, welcome back to Metropole Grid. My name is Andre. Thanks so much for tuning in. I have recently repositioned the buttons on my stream deck, so I get the right camera all the time. How's everyone doing? It's Thursday, April the 27th, 2023, almost the end of the month. Hopefully you're doing well. I'm good. I had to think about it. No, we're doing all right. Andre the Man, the Middle, the Legend, Orbital. How's it going? How's your week been? Hey, Sophie, how you doing? Hey, the lion is here. Also, dear, hello, here early for a change. Coming in early is actually kind of sick because this is where we have the freedom to like really freely talk smack about all the folks that show up a bit too late. They know who they are. So if you want to go first, that's perfect. How's it going? Hey Gerby, our streams around this every Thursday. Yes, around this time every Thursday. We start streaming at about 8:45 Eastern. I'm not sure if we're daylight or not. I think we might be daylight, but about this time every week on the dot, rain or shine, even sometimes when I'm under the weather, but we almost stream every Thursday in a year and then we reschedule if we can't. But yeah, that's it. It's that simple. Sometimes we stream other times. It's been a while since we streamed on a weekend. Usually it's for events and stuff. Hey, Xran, how's it going? Appreciate the addition. I'm glad you saw it. I sent you a message. Didn't really expect it to be all that interesting, but to my surprise, it's quite illuminating to see the variations laid out. Really gives me a frame of reference for the whole format that really moves the needle. That's super cool. So for those not knowing what that's about, we did that agenda chart thing about how many accesses on average a runner needs to win. And Ixran's a big proponent of limited formats, specifically like draft and sealed, stuff like that. I guess more draft. So there's some numbers up there that have just been added recently for a certain draft pool, which you play to 6 agenda points. And you see the numbers kind of just oscillate between 13 and 14, whether you play the minimum or maximum deck size. And I think on 39's, yeah, just about the same. It's cool numbers. Again, if you're playing limited and you're trying to put together a deck that you drafted, you might want to look at these numbers, but there's actually not that much to learn, which is cool, but at least it's flat and you see how long the game should be to some kind of idea. Hey, Barrel, how's it going? Izzy, also, how's it going? Hey, River, how y'all doing? Finally not in class, so I can actually watch the stream. Chris, congrats to get to the end of the class. I reckon it is now summer. How was class? What brand is your hoodie? This is a hoodie that's attached to the title Dead by Daylight, which is an asymmetric a multiplayer game, kind of like Netrunner, except people get hung up on giant hooks. And you go get some beer. All right, if that's what it takes to enjoy this content, do whatever it takes. Good, rare evening where I can watch the whole stream. Heck yeah, yo, we're gonna have I think a reasonably good stream today. We got a deck list of the week that's a bit of a meme. I don't know how I feel about it, and then we're gonna do some deck building. We're gonna play Sunny, and I think I'm really excited to play Sunny. I think Sunny's probably in an okay spot right now, and I've been playing a Sunny-like deck recently. We're gonna have a deck dive next week, which is a Security Nexus deck, and I reckon Sunny's pretty fine. And with the rotation of the mini factions coming up just around the corner, I think we're gonna take any excuse to play all of them sometime in the next couple weeks, barring Apex. We're probably gonna have to play Apex, let's be honest. It's the grid. Yo, Brendan, how's it going? How you doing? Stream Hype Crowar, how you doing as well? Andre, can we see you hit the Metropole Griddy? I don't even know what that means. What could that possibly mean? Oof. How's it going again? The fact that it's mostly 13 to 14 outside of the 5-3 decks means it's almost assuredly a good rule of thumb to focus on your scoring plan or lack thereof. Yeah, that's and this is something that I'm starting to see. We're going to talk a bit about it because we saw some results from our circuit opener last weekend in which an opponent really played me well. I played Mad Dash and it was absolutely useless because they figured the math out. But I do want again to go back to those agenda numbers, because this is going to be like an overarching statement that has to cover all those numbers, is that your game plan is usually more important than making that number go up. Because you can build some agenda suites that are highly defensible, let alone highly defensible against things like Mad Dash, but they're just ass to play. Like they're just really difficult to get to 7. You end up like losing deck slots. Like there is a huge trade-offs to some of these changes. And I argue that if you have a proactive game plan, that actually matters more than having a big number, because you can end the game by turn X as opposed to like wait till they get the requisite Y turns to access off central. So the gritty, when it goes, I can't just open a YouTube link. What is it? 5 seconds in? I don't know what that is. It really made me curious about evidence collection, the baby GFI. That's a terminal directive card, right? I've been playing lots of Smoke. How's Smoke been? I think Smoke is probably still pretty reasonable. And whether you have to play stealth or not, I don't know. Shaper's in a strange spot. It's a football celebration. Oh, okay. Get in. Back of the net. Football pie. Making granola. Granola's really good. I like granola a lot. Hopefully that's going well. In fact, course is going well. Just moved house. So tired, but sitting back and relaxing with some Netrunner content while I procrastinate unpacking. Yo, is it a move for the better? Is it a move for necessity? Is this like an exciting move or like a by necessity move? Because moving can be obviously stressful as all get out, but it also can be very, very nice to be able to redecorate a space and then make it yours. Oh, it's so great. And you're pissing in the sink before you know it. Evidence collection 4 is terminal directive. It's a 3-2. That's a 3-1 for the runner. Oh, wow. Legitimately mini food. Okay, there's going to be a bit of spoilers here because there's a whole bunch of these strange cards that you probably have never seen that are attached to a box that FFG came out that was called Terminal Directive. If you don't know what Terminal Directive is, it's a really funny kind of product. It's a really strange product. Firstly, a lot of people make jokes about this because the box that Terminal Directive is huge. For many moons throughout all of mostly college, I used this as a monitor stand. This box is so big, and the amount of contents that fit in this box can fit in like 2 small envelopes. It's hilarious. It's all open space just because, you know, board game. And this came out right at the time that like legacy board games were like really in vogue, right? Like Risk Legacy was out at that time. I think Seafall was probably in the next couple of years or so, but like everyone wanted to make a legacy game with yeah, it was a weird product. And I think this video should still be up. And it's really good. It's really funny. I haven't watched it in a while, but I rewatch it every 2 or 3 years. If you go to YouTube, Trace 5 Terminal Directive. So Trace 5 is Christian Majewski, I think his name is. He used to be a Netrunner content creator who did a whole bunch of videos. And he has this like hour-long video essay about what went wrong with Terminal Directive, because I think Terminal Directive is a huge mess. It's just like a really bad product, I think. It had cards that were like tournament legal, but it also had this like narrative game that you're meant to play against one person and play a legacy game where your decks changed and you upgraded and there's a story. And yeah, it was like, it didn't deliver any part of it really well. And this video is quite good. I enjoy this video a fair bit. Christian, for what it's worth, has his own like channel now where he does game design stuff, and he's just such a cool dude. I watch his stuff even though I don't do Pico 8, which is the thing he mostly does. But I would recommend watch this. There'll be a link in the description if you want to see what this is. But Terminal Directive was such a weird mess. And there's these cards that show up every once in a while. If you search the wrong thing, not Terminal. What was it called? Pissing sink MC. What? Anarcho. What? That's the only. Your house is the only place you can do that, right? Right? Move for the better. Built a house to escape the rent trap. Yo, you built your own house. That seems like a move for much the better. Well done. The box is so empty. The box is hilariously empty. It was ridiculous. Evidence collection. When you win the game with evidence collection, your score area reveals set 2, and eventually this gets better or different, I reckon, throughout the game. So there's a bunch of these cards in the Terminal Directive campaign. None of these cards are legal. Some of these cards are just like busted, like just over the curve. Some of them actually do explore weird interactions, like taking a card and shuffling into your opponent's deck, stuff like that. Some of that was actually kind of neat and like interesting. But then a lot of these cards were just like kind of boring. Like one card was like, crack this to gain a click. And it's like, what? I'm playing a card in my deck just to gain a click? It didn't make any sense. Sneak Door Primes are really, 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 really good. But I don't want to spoil this if you ever find Terminal Directive and can play it. But it's maybe once. I would not play it twice. It was wild. Oh Lord, Seafall, don't miss that one. Pat from the Métropole Grid was a big fan of Seafall. I've heard that he doesn't think it's a great game, but has some cool things going on. And I heard some of the twists. They're cool. It had a cool wood insert at one time that they turned into a collection box. Wait, Seafall? I liked TD, but yeah, it was a mess of a product, and the legacy stuff, well, it didn't really make a lot of sense balance-wise. Hey, Bjorntor, how's it going? Yeah, the balance stuff was really strange. Like, a lot of legacy games will reward people who are not doing well. They'll be like, oh, did you lose the last 2 games? We're going to give you, like, a little boost, right? They're going to push you up so that you can be competitive. And on Terminal Directive did that slightly, but they did it mostly in the opposite side, where if you won, you got a boon. So if you just had a better deck, or you were a better pilot, or the matchup was just inherently kind of in your favor, it snowballed. I've talked to people that had a campaign where like the Corp won 12 games, the runner won 1. And like, buckle up. I don't know if that's going to be fun for anything. This Muppets New Flash just killed me. Yo, Jeff, how's it going? Yo, real talk. Wild Frost, I'm really into it now. It's really good. I got a couple wins through it. I got to show one of my friends who's like really into those sort of like roguelike games. He's very, very good at them. And we had like a ridiculous run where we had like the smallest deck possible. And then we had 2 Noomlin Sun Rods. And basically the enemies just stopped attacking because Snoof was snowing them all the way down to the ground. It was great. Hey Stuker, I've Terminal Directive, but I've never and will probably never play it because it's such a mess experience for new players. Yo, it was like really also bad. Firstly, welcome to the channel. It's really bad for new players too. Like a lot of people look at it and be like, oh, it's a board game, Netrunner. I can get in and I don't need a collection. But unfortunately, one of the main things it did is attached other concepts to the game. It'd be like, you have to learn how to play Netrunner and do all the complicated Netrunner stuff. But also there's going to be a sideboard that tracks other like alternate statistics and like, did you do this? Did you not do this? And so they just made Netrunner more complicated, but not in like a satisfying way. It was really weird because they wanted to get like some sort of legacy like achievement goals attached to already a very complicated game. And I don't think any part of that worked out well. But again, watch the Trace 5 video. I still think it's quite funny, but it's been a minute. IXWTTD was mad. Yeah, it's meh. Boardlandia is auctioning off Scar the keys if anyone doesn't have it. Doesn't Boardlandia just got a bunch of press this week for doing something really, really silly? Hey, Andre, are you coming to Cascadia? Yo, I maybe. I have to look into it. I still have to get my passport, but it generally depends on like, I have to just look into pricing and stuff like that. I have a wedding that I have to be across the country once again, like the following week, which isn't like an easy time. And then probably around that time, a week after that is going to be Canadian Nationals in Montreal that we're hosting. So it's going to be difficult. I really am going to look into it to see what it takes. But I like it. Mind you, Cascadia is a giant event that's happening in the West Coast. I believe it's happening in Portland, is my guess. That's going to be run mid-August. And it's going to be a really big deal. White Blade's organizing this largely, I reckon, with some other people too, maybe. But yeah, I reckon it's going to slap. And they're doing the whole thing. It's in Seattle. Oh, okay, cool. In Seattle. It'd be cool to have you on the West Coast. Yeah, I'd love to be there. I've been to Seattle once and had a great time for the couple days I've been there. Well, Bellevue, technically. Steven Scorpios, the IDs just didn't really have super interesting and fun dynamics. It's weird too, Ixeren, because like that was the same conversation. So if there was 2 corp IDs and 2 runner IDs that came out in Terminal Directive. None of the corp IDs are still legal anymore. The runner IDs are still legal. In fact, they're in startup. It's Isla and Steve. But Steve came out in that set, and Steve was the recursion-based runner. Steve said, okay, you run HQ, pick 2 cards. The corp gives you one of them. The other one's removed from game. Cool. But then the corporation that you could play in this box was this thing called Scorpios. That was like a very powerful off-meta kind of thing for a while. This, at some point, was one of the best decks in the format, and all it says, 40 deck minimum, whenever a runner card is trashed from any location, you may force the runner to remove it from the game. So you could play the matchup, which is like, I'm the guy who's going to recur everything, and then your Scorpios would be like, oh, you played an event, remove it from the game. And it was like such a wild matchup to exist in this box, where it's just like, I'm going to turn off your ability, and that's my ability. My ability is that you don't have an ability. Are we cool now? Which was really quite ugly. And funny enough, I think I had the same sort of idea that we'd run into this exact like duel of fates between Essa and Thule. But I think that matchup actually turned out to be a fair bit more interesting, considering both players are actually kind of helping each other half the time. So I don't think it's as bad or as uninteresting as Scorpios into Steve, which like, whew, that sucked. This is the first time I'm hearing about Terminal Directive. I'm so confused. Yeah, it was a product. It was a product you could buy. I still think I have a bunch of my legacy cards that I didn't unwrap because we never got to those like things. And I played a whole campaign with Roberto. I didn't even like tear up any card or do any stickers. I like manually did it because I was convinced I'd play the product again. Nah, once was enough. Watch the video. It's really good. The way Andre has face cam set makes it look like his hair is on fire because of the GIF. Oh, nice. Hey. It was almost such a waste of potential. Like at the time I was excited by legacy games and just really wanted one that wasn't based on an already existing property. And like the game was just unplayably boring, IMO. The legacy was fine, but the game was literally just as move as fast as you can. I think you're talking about Seafall, not a Terminal Directive. Yeah. I don't know enough about Seafall. I know it's one of those games that it was like one of those properties that at some point the entire internet turned on and then stock was like really hard to move. People were like giving away copies of Seafall. So that's rough. Radiant and Cephalopod Wizard are the other Cascadia folks. Oh, perfect. Thanks for showing that out. I had no idea. And like, I think a lot of ways the failure of Seafall kind of led to Legacy never moving out of the gimmick stage. And then Gloomhaven came in, we entered this scenario ETA. Or era, I reckon it is. Yeah, no, it's true. These sort of like board game trends. I don't know what the latest one is. I think Roland Rights was like the big trend to chase. You see this in video games too, where it's like everybody is, you know, an MMO for like 5 years. Then everyone's obviously a battle royale for a while. I did like Satyr, as not great as it was. Also, Tapestry is one of my favorite 1x ice. Tapestry was a cool card. It was a neat card. I don't like Satyr. I think Satyr is just kind of poisonous. Great storage solution. Oddball. You talking about the box? How's it going? Steve versus Scorpio is interesting in a really spiky tryhard way, but like super unfun in a legacy board game way. Yeah, I don't know. Slay the Spire likes are having a moment. They really are. It's like every week there's a new Slay the Spire like on Steam, and a lot of them are pretty good. Obviously, rule of large numbers or whatever. There's a lot of them are probably pretty bad, but I've been playing Wild Frost, and I recommend Wild Frost heavily. Yusengren streamed Wild Frost like 2 weeks ago, and I looked at the Wild Frost page, and it's very colorful, and I think there's a lot of Slay the Spire likes that have quite bad art. In fact, Slay the Spire's art is kind of acquired taste at this point that we all love now. But it had bad reviews. It was like 75%, which is like not good enough, it turns out. And it was just heavily review bombed because people think the difficulty of the game was way too high. And the game is difficult. And if you don't mind that and you want to learn it, skill issue, it's very, very satisfying. So check out Wild Frost if you want. It's very, very clean, very colorful. Music's so good too. It's really nice. Whenever a corp forces you to remove a card from the game, you can add it to your heap instead. That'll never happen. I don't mind the roguelike deck builder trend. Yeah, I don't mind it. There's also in board games for a while, there's like everything was a deck builder, right? And that still exists to some extent. It's just like now people are doing deck builders on top of something else. And those are generally pretty interesting. I got to play Arnak last night with my sister and her husband. Been on the Risk of Rain 2 grind, gunning for that 100%. Hey, Os, how's it going? Risk of Rain 2. I haven't played that one in a while. I didn't glom onto that one too hard. I know a lot of people love it. The first one too, like I played maybe a dozen hours of it. I don't think it was my thing so much. Wild Frost is so good. Everything I want Inscription to be. We're not going to go too deep into that rabbit hole. I don't think Inscription was like, it was a cool experience, but it's a bad card game. Unfortunately, that's the way I saw it. But like I played Inscription with my partner and it's a great experience. But yeah, Wild Frost is like very cool. Very, very, very cool. All right, let's talk about this. So I have to, and you can warn me. I feel like last week I was a bit pessimistic about the meta. We had a bit of a, a tangent and then a bit of a small breakdown. If that happens, that's totally fine. I think it's good that we have emotional reactions to things we care about. That's totally great. If it's ever too much, you can poke fun at me all you want. You can bring it up. I am going to risk of that, have a bit of a negative tangent about this deck list. We're about to get into that, but we'll talk about the circuit opener. We had a great time last weekend. Huge shout out to everyone organizing and coming out, but we have to say something slightly negative about this. So buckle up. The new Dune game and Lost Ruins are Arnak 2 great deck building. I still haven't played the Dune game. I know it's great. Risk of Rain returns? Whoa. I love the first act of Inscription, but the second part of the game turned me off. It was like so hard to know. Like I spent, unfortunately, hours grinding the first act of Inscription. And by the time I was like 2-3 hours in, I was like, this is still boring. And then you find out there's, a whole other game. And then there's an interesting twist. But yeah, I don't know. The fact I was stuck for so long, and it's not because I was bad at the game, is I didn't know what to do to progress, which I feel like they probably should make it obvious. Skill issue again. Hey, Code Marvelous, how's it going? It's been a minute. How you doing? I'm getting pretty tired of board games putting every conceivable mechanic on top of each other, deck building included. Yeah, that is a lot of them, I guess, though. But that's like Arnak. It's like everything together. The experience of Inscription is cool, but the game itself didn't really work for me, which was disappointing because all the updates turned into Inscription to a roguelite. Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't play much into the updates, but like it was a cool game, specifically also for people who don't know the genre, because it's a close thing to it without being like incredibly, I think, difficult or honestly very deep, which is great. That's fine. Dune and Arnak work so well because they just aren't deck builders. Yeah, in fact, if you play Arnak as a deck builder, you're going to lose. It kind of gets you. I've gone back into daily streaming. Oh, what are you streaming? Nice. I had no idea. You still play Netrunner? I saw your name in the JNet lobby every once in a while. Someone who's indifferent to Slay the Spire, the card gamification, everything is mildly tiresome. Netrunner. Oh, okay. That makes sense. Yeah, that's sick. I'm going to check it out. When are you streaming? Okay. Netrunner. So this is a deck, and we talked about this last week. This got the deck list of the week, which like, oh man, I don't like that, unfortunately, because there's actually some really interesting, I think, and very meta, important deck list of the week that could have been this deck list of the week. Sorry, that again seems very bitter, but this is just a joke deck. But it kind of points out something that is a bit unfortunate, and it's something that I think has kind of plagued a bunch of the NBN decks for a while. This is New Angelus Soul. For the uninitiated, this is an identity from Data and Destiny that cares about a subtype of cards called currents. In short, currents are a subtype of card that are just blanket banned across all the standard format. There's about 47 currents that could possibly exist, but they're all banned out. They're basically ongoing events or operations that get played into a liminal space, and they affect the whole entire board. until your opponent steals or scores an agenda or somebody plays their own current. In fact, only one current can be in play at any point in time. So it's kind of like lands and Yu-Gi-Oh, I think. I'm not actually sure. I feel like that's probably something like it. Yeah, and they're all banned, and yet there's a bunch of cards in standard that you can play that reference currents that have no text. This is literally a blank identity, 4515. It is going to be straight up worse than every other identity you could play in NBN on the basis that every other identity actually does something. This one does nothing, right? So if you sit down across your opponent with this deck, it's kind of like I don't know. It's probably in good humor, but like I feel really rude doing that, to be like, yeah, I'm playing a blank ID and I won. Like, shit. And this deck is obviously not building to its identity, and it's just smashing together this NBN archetype that I think is really alive and well right now, which I'd call the Argus Light identity. The idea that we're playing a deck that has economic warfare, so the runner's money can evaporate, and it just goes sometimes. And then of course you have hard-hitting news to back that up. So if they run, they're a bit too aggressive, and mind you, they're probably not expecting this sort of package in a blank ID. They're probably confused. So maybe they're not expecting you to do what is literally the most spike like I gotcha play. And then you have Seamless Launch, which is also a really good card in this sort of archetype because it allows you to play NBN for 2 agendas. So you can play things like Artificial Crypto Crash, which are again very good with our game plan, let alone allows you to score Bolognas off the table and off-world offices. It's just a very good, concise game plan. This deck with a better ID is one of the best decks in the format. You can make some changes here, and we'll talk about some other NBN-like decks that are doing this, but there's nothing here that is obviously unique to the current identity. And I think this is where I get a bit less than happy with a bunch of the NBN identities, is that they feel all interchangeable modernly. I feel like no matter what NBN identity you can play or any NBN deck, you can swap it into another identity, and it largely doesn't matter that much. I talked about how last week that a bunch of the new runner and corp identities that Null Signal Games have been putting out are, I think, really slappers, because they're not just like value-based propositions. They're things that you actually have to build around, that have their own unique game plans, that actually use cards in a unique way. Like Pravdivos is one of the few NBN identities that actually plays different than every other NBN identity. But the idea is that this sort of deck that we played could easily just be an Asmari deck that just says event over and over again, and throughout the game gets an extra 12 to 14 free credits. Or you could even just go ahead and play, of course, Reality Plus, and then throughout the game give some amount of tags and get 12 to 14 more additional credits, let alone you can get card draw. That's a bit more interesting. But to me, like, all of these identities play out entirely the same, and you can basically swap the decks between them and it doesn't matter that much. Your choice is which identity gives you a bit more just ubiquitous value. And unfortunately, I feel like all of these decks play out the same, and it kind of bores me, because eventually everyone's going to find out that the best thing is like Reality Plus is not as good as Mari, because Mari is consistent and has presence every turn, while Reality Plus is probably only worth playing when you have Drago. You actually can make sure a tag happens every single turn. And that bums me out. Again, there's different designs. Like Op is such a cool new design that actually encourages you to play something unique and different. And I like these a lot better than just being like, okay, abstract value proposition. This one gives me 2 credits a turn. This one gives me 2 credits a turn. How do you want to get your 2 credits a turn? Andre drank his grumpy sauce this morning. No, it's not that bad. I just wish this was better. It's just kind of boring. Let me catch up on chat. We've gone off 10:30 a.m. Okay, cool. I also took your recommendation on RoboQuest. Blitz through the difficulties, just waiting for more content. Oh, RoboQuest is so good. I'm glad that you were excited about RoboQuest. It's a very, very good game. I should tell you I've been streaming now for 5 weeks, once per week. So thanks for your tips. River, send us a stream link when you feel confident about sharing that, or you can share it privately to me if you want. Lockdown should have been temp currents. Ban old keep lockdowns. Yeah, Gorfax, how's it going? Lockdowns, for what I'm worth, are the modern currents, and they actually saw some amount of important play in the meta. In fact, in the last 6 months, 2 of the major events were won by decks that played lockdowns. UK Nationals was won by a lockdown-based deck to some extent, and Worlds was won by a lockdown-based deck. That lockdown was necessary evil, though, so that's kind of different right now. This is good decklist of the week, so Jaina is not more full of Jinteki Grinder. You're right, though. Jaina has calmed down, which is really, really great. But yeah, that's this deck. It's just a good deck that plays like Argus decks back in the day. People are not going to expect it. I really hate the fact that we're going to roll up to Jaina and play this identity, because obviously it's the worst thing you could do. You can just play any other identity, would be strictly better. And then if you win, you're just stunting on your opponent. Like, I don't know what we're proving here. It just feels rough. I don't feel good. Someone who's playing on pair, playing a blank ID and winning as whole ass vibe. Empire's not a blank ID. Empire does something. Yeah, Corey's saying Empire is blank is slightly misreading. HHN is a mistake. Solomir, how's it going? I think HHN just needs scaling based off of board state. That's it. I think HHN is a bit of a mistake, but I think HHN is a very important card. I've said this many times on the channel before. Hard Hitting News is a really, really, really good card when it comes to competitive Netrunner on top tables, because it's a card that actually makes you consider every single run. It makes you consider every single trash. It's a card that you start caring about everything. It makes everything a risk assessment. It gives decks a way to like to give people a fork where I'm going to put something in the remote server and Hard Hitting News you. I know you can clear the tags. What are you going to do? But unfortunately, it's also a threat that's live and well on turn 1 in a meta where there's assets and agendas on the table turn 1 that can be game defining in some ways. And that I feel like is a bit of a mistake. It's also one of the worst cards for casual Netrunner, because you run turn 1 with the deck that doesn't have a strong economy and lose the game on turn 1. And that sucks. That's obviously really bad. I just wish it didn't do that and eventually did its thing once people were a bit more set up. I think it's like tier 1.5 played out as Asmari, but yeah, it's playable. I think it's a bit better than it looks. I think the Asmari decks are actually quite good. It's in fact what I played at the circuit opener. I don't like the deck I played, but that actually archetype was alive and well. And I think you're going to see a lot of high skill players play it. We can't expect every identity to be as wonderful as Op though. No, you can't. But I do think the identities, I don't know. I don't know what to say. I think there's a thing there too that you're seeing. And again, in terms of the grumpy sauce we had this morning, the idea that we can talk about what we're playing as what faction we're playing more than what ID we're playing is something that's, I think, a bit problematic about like runner stuff too. Like every criminal deck is largely the same. Every anarch deck is largely the same. And I feel like if the IDs don't give you incentive to go out of the way to explore parts of the card pool, to get increased value from cards that might be sub value in like the normal regular identities, you're going to run into that problem where like every deck is 80% the same cards. So it's something that I think that's worth looking at. I don't think it's the end of the world. I think the reg decks are still fun to play and play against, but if IDs are again encouraging you in a certain path, and I don't like the just play all the Biroids IDs, unfortunately, but you know what I mean? I think it's probably better for the game. Hey Cody, how's it going? Still playing Marvel Snap? Yeah, I am slowly climbing. We're trying to get to that 60 by the end of the season, but we mostly just have like things to do before our what's it called, our monthly pass expires. Try to get all the value we paid for. I feel like a prisoner. It's kind of what you do when you pay for a thing and then you'd be like, I don't know. It feels like though, it's no different than when they serve you dinner and then you're like, I only want to eat half. At least that you can take it in a box. Nothing but the truth. I'm going to be so embarrassed rolling up with this identity because I feel like I'm just stunting on people. The deck is fine though. Obviously it would be strictly better if you played an identity that did anything. S is a fun ID. Exactly. S is a fun ID. Evil Eyes. Shoot, there was like some sort of rumor spread that like folks from Toronto would come down to the circuit opener on the weekend. And I was really looking forward to y'all coming down. It didn't happen. I don't know if that was made up just to like stoke my spirits, but we'll see you soon, I reckon. Record. You could be playing any other ID? Yeah, of course. You could be playing any other ID. Hey, it's Pap Surfer. Pap Surfer's really nice. Gotta meet Pap Surfer Worlds this year. Hey. How's it going? Super excited to catch live this week, stunting or no. Hey JM, welcome to the stream. We're gonna be playing some Sunny later today, which is pretty sick. This is anti-Sunny. Well, it says Soul in it. That's like half of the way. If I lose to Blank on DS stream, I'll retire. I won't keep you. I don't know. That sounds like we're confident. Yeah, I feel you. No, this earlier this week, I lost to Ash's startup playing standard. I'm keeping my badge. I'm well. I was playing against someone. I was playing like a really good deck, like a kind of try hard deck to some extent. And I was playing against someone that said like, "Hey, I'm just playing like Ash's startup because it's not legal, so I'm only playing Ash's." And then I'm like, "Okay, that seems easy." And then I lost my important piece to snare on turn 1, and then the game was kind of over. It was pretty rough. Thanks, you too. Sunny equals anti-stunting. I think Sunny is probably reasonable. I don't think Sunny's okay. Okay, Endless Eula gets goofed on by mind you, this is Kit, so everything's a code gate. I think it's going to be goofed up by only Buzzsaw. If there's any other decoder, we don't mind so much. But this is good. We just jam out a Rashida. I don't know how good the economy is from the Kit decks, and that's all we care about, mind you. We didn't talk about how these decks function, but Gaslight's been such an important piece to these decks to either get your combo pieces or to put something on the table so they consider running, and then you blow them out by the credit differential. So one or the other. I don't know. I think we want to do the Eula and the inside. I feel like if it's on the outside, it's fine. IP block is a bit rough. There's not a lot of credits here. We'll do the Eula. I don't want to res it though. That's a problem. But I think that's the best thing. Yeah, we'll probably res it. Sunny is stunting because she has no card pool anymore. Yo, you're not a White Hat fan? White Hat's so good. Yeah, oh, hey, Janktivist, what's good? Did you see the Unbreakable unboxing chip theory games posted? No, I actually looked up a game found update and I found that didn't post any updates for the last, like, forever. That stuff is meant to ship sometime soon, right? Can you give a new player advice on where to find lists and archetypes? I'm guessing Sunny archetype, but don't know what it is. Okay, so Sunny is... Okay, Sanguine just answered it perfectly. If you go into Netrunner DB, and you're specifically someone who plays startup, you can do a filter search. If you remind me after this game, I'll walk you through entirely. It's actually not that, it's a bit hidden, but it's a really good thing to know that you can do. There's a way to search to be like, I want to find decks with only this card pool. But Sunny is an identity that's from Standard. It's a really old identity. I don't think we want anything with Gaslight. Let's just go get an agenda to put in the remote server. Gaslight for seamless launch is like actually not terrible. Eventually. But unfortunately, we just don't have anything to jam here. We'll put this so that it eats the thing, not that like Endless Eula needs a breaker, and we'll just put something on R&D, I guess. Here, I'm not sure what to throw out. It's probably going to be the other Gaslight. Everything else in our hand seems good. What are the odds NSG sends the Pinkertons to your house? It's unlikely. But if I accidentally get sent the wrong product, that's on me. I understand how capitalism works. I think that's on me. I think they should be able to send the Pinkerton goons. All right, a magnet. That's actually a code gate. I think we will just cycle Spin Doctors to go. We want to go fast. They are just setting up, and rightfully so. It's a Bologna. We can go install Advance. Get that scored out. I'm not too hot about the magnet right now. I'm not too hot about our credits, but we'll see how it goes. Something to add to my point about HHN earlier is Existence puts a floor in reasonable econ for competitive runner decks. Yeah, totally. Totally. It's admittedly, there's going to be other things that have put a floor in economy, but that's obviously one of the biggest ones. Okay, that's sick. If they're in hyperbaric, then we Endless Eula holds. But you're 100% correct. Yeah, if you don't have enough money, you lose the game. But there's a lot of IDs where that's the case, right? Like, hard-hitting news or not. I think in Legends of Runeterra, identity is more game style defined than faction, and the issues usually ties identity to a very limited card pool with automates deck building. Yeah, that's like another potentially negative thing about like tribal decks. And for some newer players, tribal decks are actually really sick because it's an easy way to understand how to build a reasonable deck. To be like, oh, I just want to play all the next dice in the next deck, or Byrites and Byrite deck. I think there's some value from that, but I agree. Kind of like stealth decks. It's like there was some argument at some point in time that all those decks were the same, like 80 cards. 80% cards. So, you know, I saw the unboxing video went up on YouTube a few hours ago. Okay, cool. I'm not subscribed to them on YouTube. I'll check that out. I'm excited to jump back into that game. It's been a minute. Would you want to see the NSG's take on mini factions, or do you think they've had their time? Yo, Sisig, I think mini factions are really, really cool. I think I would definitely be interested to see mini factions. I think Null Signal Games has announced that they're not going to be supporting the mini factions. Obviously, they're rotating. So if they do their own, so be it. All right, unfortunately, they have 22 credits and we haven't moved fast enough. So they can run the server for 7. I think we still have to just like hope. But like, this is the issue, is that any deck that has an aggressive good economy, we need to score a crypto crash very, very early. Otherwise, they just sit back and go, oh, Nobkiri Palangi, sick. That's really cool. It's your fault if energy sends you the wrong scoots. Look, if they send it, that's my problem. I opened the package. Remember reading about Adam as the mini faction were released. I'm so sad to see them go. Yeah, so many people are really sad to see the mini faction go for like obvious reasons, because they are sick. And not only do they have like new interesting cards, but all the mini factions represent, like, they have a pretty cool narrative attached to them. I do think we're just going to see those parts of the narratives hopefully explored by Null Signal Games cards or any cards going forward. Yeah, it is what it is. Actually, legit question. What card are you going to miss the most from upcoming rotation? Oh, that's a good legit question. GFI to your question. Yeah, it's definitely not that. So here we could drop him to 10. That's not good enough. So we could just force onto the table, because I don't think they can check this all the time. I've actually find myself being like kind of interested in just tempo economic warfares a fair bit. I've been finding in this deck is actually really difficult sometimes to do economic warfare into hard-hitting news into a fork. I find that just tempoing these out is actually like legitimately fine as a card, because a lot of times people keep these in hand so they can play these on the turn before they do a hard-hitting news trace. But I find, yeah, it's just hard to do a hard-hitting news trace while also forking on the table. So just like getting the 4 credits out now is just good enough. We need this to survive for this to be a play. They're gonna hit the boom. They hit the hard-hitting news. Okay. Sunny best mom? Yeah. Maybe the only mom? No, actually Zaya has a mom. But I'm not going to be the final source on the motherhood of Netrunner. But Sunny by definition is the best mom. I really hope they do another AI runner. Hey, Ataku, how's it going? Like, oh, as in Apex is an AI? I'm actually not sure what Apex is. This is going bad. On Kate? Oh, Kate is a mom, but I think Kate became a mom after Kate rotated. Because Kate is technically a mom, but I'm not convinced Kate was a mom at the time in 2012. GFI isn't a joke. I think it enables some really fun decks. Yeah. All right, well, now we just go get it. Gaslight's good. It's a good card. Now the problem is, like, how do we close the game out? Oh, we have a boom in hand. Never mind, we figured it out. Oh, that's actually really good. So they're in 5, so we have to do... So we have to do trace 2. So we only have 2 credits. If the deck has planogram and this survives, we win. But this is, again, why we go out of the way to tempo economic warfare. So we actually can do plays like this, where we can do something and then put something in a remote server. If we just did economic warfare, hard-hitting news, I feel like a sitting duck, and that can't be good. Rat command. I'd be very sad when Obelisk rotates to the surprise of no one. Yeah, that's actually a really good choice. Obelisk is a really good rotation card. We can look at that too after this game, because I don't want to play this ID again. Again, we don't have an ID. We could have named event and got, you know, 5 less cards and an extra 12 credits by now. Oh, misdirection. That's really good. But they don't have money. So I think here we just go get a hard hitting. It's either, this is where it's like kind of skill testing, because we have to pop this to open our server. I think we probably get planogram or we get seamless. I'm going to decide that we want to get seamless, I think. This is actually like a really interesting misdirection one time. A very interesting decision what you get here. Hard hitting news is obviously the threat, but it's like not that good into misdirection. Hedge fund's unplayable. Planogram is like good enough. Subliminal is like nonsense in this deck. I don't see why they wouldn't run every turn, especially because they have good incentives too. So I think we're going to go to the seamless and just hope we top deck something we can put in the remote server. Okay. That's not great. We have money issues, but we have to keep putting stuff in the remote server. Otherwise we will lose the game. Or we will lose the game. Unfortunately, that's not it. Ah, Zaya, my beloved. Yeah. Bulwark is a super sad rotation for me. Like SSO is going to be kind of like the outfit, where if you don't put more cards for it, the identity just, you know, dies on the vine, unfortunately. And so the fact that we have Bulwark is such a boon for the identity that just wants more things that say bad publicity on it. So yeah, that's a really important one. I'm going to miss Smoke so much. There's a lot of people that are going to miss Smoke a lot. Odal. Specifically. All right, well, we found a subliminal. Sometimes you don't want to play it, but we do want to play it. I would love to get something in the remote server. Okay, well, maybe next turn. We can click to draw and go from there. I think I'm going to miss the Smoke the most. She's such an ass. Oh, great. Stone Ship for 2. She's also a really well-designed ID, but I just love her grin. Yeah. Yeah, she shows up in a lot of art. Smoke has got a lot of alt arts. All the way back from the daily cast, right? All right, nice. Into the Depths. That's a really cool inclusion. So we're going to resist Serevna. Do we want to give 2 credits here? Yeah, I think so. Like, we're not going to hard hitting news for a year anyways. They're going to get 4 more credits off of this. So we might as well make this have a face check. 3 subroutines is pretty good for something that's going to be broken for a subroutine. This is a code gate. So they can only break the net damage. So we get to fire the other ones. Yeah, we'll draw 2. Okay. And again, we can always shuffle this back in. We only have 2 economic warfares, and I think they're going to be very important to get back in the deck at some point if we want to win the game. But they just gained 4, so they'll be on 12. If they float a tag, we have a sick planogram, but we don't have it. Okay, so there's a chance we can use fun houses, but the problem again, misdirection, is that any deck you can put a lot of, you know, things that give tags on the same server, and then they fall apart. For obvious reasons. So I think we just need to draw 3 here and just get stuff in the remote server. I think there's actually a big chance that we want to first crack this, but actually all our Rashida's already out of the game. Or are sorry, are still in R&D. So we'll draw 3 here. Sick. I feel like we can discard most of this ice. I don't know how we're gonna res this. Ping is reasonable. It actually does something. We should have to force them through this remote server as many times as we can. They know we have a seamless too, so this looks like a Bologna, so they have to do some math too, whether like they can get in here or it can't. Oh, pinhole threading. That's really good. That actually, that's so good. That's absurdly good because it deals with everything. Like it also deals with the spin doctor. At least this is like a pseudo dead axis, right? All right, I think we're just gonna get the 2 warfares back in. I don't even think that's right, actually. Like the warfare only is reasonable on the basis that it can make it very difficult to steal Bologna in the server, but that's all it does. Like we're not gonna hard hitting news to any extent. It's really hard too with misdirection. Like this is the point in the game where we've lost and we have very little recourse. All right. Well, we just got to make a play. We just have to make a play. Again, we could have an identity, but we didn't. And Pouch has respected our stuff. Again, that's a really big thing too, is like Pouch just spent the first 3 or 4 turns setting up. And we're actually not that bad at putting board states where if they don't run, it's really bad for them. That's mostly Crypto Crash. We're only on 2, not 3. But that's the one card that can really punish people if they don't like consider interaction. Is Andre not allowed to swear in stream? I try not to. All right, well, where's a ping? I try to keep it to like a minimum. I feel like everyone gets 1. But yeah. I really hope the next set doesn't have too many near prints. It was cool to see stuff like Pinhole replacing Polyp, running Hot Steel Skin, but I want to see more stuff. I do think you're going to see a bit more near prints because I do think Null Signal wants to exist in a world where all the cards in Standard eventually are just Null Signal game cards. So I think there's going to be a lot of things where like we need something that's similar to this. Inherently, maybe not near prints, right? Like maybe you mean near prints like, you know, self-modifying code versus self-modifying code. But if you know what I mean, I do think you're going to see a lot of similar ideas. Andre swears, he says, beans. It's been a while since I have. All right, so they still have to clear tag gear. We're on game point. Obviously, that's bad. But yeah, we don't have a way to close the game out. We just don't do enough quickly. We just have to make the server as taxing as possible. And the ping doesn't really help because the Plongi has 7 counters on it. And unfortunately, only one of these ice has to be state changed. Now it's 2, but they can trace. I got nothing, but that's okay. It'll be over soon. I think near prints are good as long as they think different enough to still have some interesting changes. Yeah, it's like, you know. Hold on. 19 more cards. Yeah, the whole idea of like, what's it called? Mushin, Noshin versus Mitosis. That's like, you know, it's an interestingly different card. Same idea. It gets there. But yeah, no, I hear you. I still want a Beans Metropole Grid mug. That is like the most requested piece of merch. And like, I don't know how to make that look like it's in our Metropole Grid style, because the Metropole Grid style is like really poorly developed and it just generally revolves around a single font. I don't think just because HHN is so ubiquitous is important that the meta means they should print HHN at home. I mean, we have MAD, which is cool, so I don't think we'll get it. I think if NBN doesn't, because this is one of the big issues where all these sort of NBN decks exist like this, is NBN doesn't have win conditions. Oh, sick. Like NBN literally just does not have a win condition. Like NBN fast advance isn't a thing as it used to be. So their only win condition is either go quickly or while threatening hard hitting news, right? Like I think if NBN just lost hard hitting news like overnight, I don't know what the faction does. They generally have some good taxing ice, but like you can't win a game with Sansan that easily anymore. I think shipment from, or what's it called? The Disappears City Grid doesn't exactly make sense. Oh, this just is an archives check? Respect. A cartoon mustached bean. This is odd beans would be great. Data dealer, near printed data dealer. John, how's it going? I think that is actually kind of important. I'm still not super happy with Spin Doctor, but certainly better than Howard. I think Spin Doctor slaps. I think it's a really interesting card. All right, we just hope they don't have the credits. Right, like that's the only way that we win is again that they can't run through all this and have 5 credits, which I think they can. If we had a seamless, we could do install advance and like hard hitting news and try and make it a bit ugly. Like that's again why seamless is really cool in these sort of decks. Mushin and Mitosis feel really different to me, but they definitely takes on the same idea. Yeah, exactly. Put your photo on the mug and add Comic Sans bean text below. Oh, sick! We might win. We might win. They put a conduit down. Pouch, I'm coming for your Netrunner license. If it's not in the mail, We also could obviously lose on R&D, but the deck only has Bologna's and then an off-world office. So like we're one trash away from the Bologna being unstealable. We also could lose here, but there's only 2 agendas in R&D, right? 3. 2. There's only 2. Shit. There was one more. Good game. We almost won that. We almost did get that. Good game. I forgot that we also had tomorrow's headline, but there's only 2 more agendas. If that wasn't there, we would have won. That was actually a close one. Funny enough. Hey, thanks, you too. I've lost to FOI after going tag me. Freedom? Yeah. No, I think. Sorry about the contractual obligations to stream. No. It's important. It's important to have structure. HHN is the only relevant at really specific points in the game, essentially makes half the standard minigame playing around HHN. Yeah, to some extent. But like the way you play around HHN is just have money. And that's actually like just a good thing you should be doing in your Netrunner deck anyways. So it's not like you have to play tech cards against it. And for what it's worth, play tech cards against HHN. Play no one home. It's a 0 cost, 1 influence card. You put it down, they just absolutely throw out all their hard-hitting newses. It's so good. I choose. I got a janky Prob FD deck, which is fun. Yeah, there's some weird stuff, for sure. I see Jackson stays on the table, causes more problems. Yes. Use your, I know, I did, that's my swear for today. Okay, Knob Conduit seems cool. Oh, that's true. I didn't realize that those actually were working together and they saw more cards faster. What is Andre's favorite type of bean? Probably coffee, but I had some like really cheap, baked beans and tomato sauce from a can as part of my dinner tonight. And I'm very into beans. Okay, for the question that was asked early, how can I search for a certain card pool? So if you go to deck lists and you want to search a certain deck list that you care about, you want to go to hit the search button here. And then up here, you can hit select allowed packs. This is like a very hidden feature that's kind of a slapper. And then here you can write in what packs you own. At the top, there's already some good ones. So you can start by hitting none and then put in what you have manually. If you do startup, which is what a lot of people are playing, it's only the first 5. So that's super easy. But of course, all these works. NSG will just be all the null signal game stuff and so forth. So if we just want to find, all we own is system gateway and system update, which is a very approachable card pool. We just hit search. You can go, of course, further than this and search like, oh, I like my favorite card is Sneak Door Beta, and you hit search and it totally works. And that's how you do it. That's how you should search certain deck lists to keep it, good. You'll also see a lot of the ones that have a lot of likes. Those are generally the ones that people have done write-ups, which doesn't mean they're always the best deck, but it means that there's a write-up to explain how to play the deck and what the person making the deck is thinking. And again, I don't think you need to play the best decks if you're just learning the game. That being said, net decking is one of the best ways to get better at the game because you're handed a good tool. So it's how to learn how to use the tool, not also how to build the tool at the same time, which is twice as hard. So keep that in mind. Net decking is not toxic. It's great. Tech cards, but then I have to deviate from my net decking. Yo, for real, No One Home is such a good card. I played this in my criminal deck where I don't spend an influence on it, and I played against, I think, 3 hard-hitting news decks at the CO, and I put this down and got hard-hitting news 0 times because they really can't afford to beat your money and then beat your money twice over, and they look really quite foolish. So this card is just really good, and if you're frustrated, just play this in your deck. It costs 1 influence. Just bite that bullet and put that down, and then you'll be in a really, really good spot. So should be a net punter thing. Coffee bean, jelly bean. I don't like jelly beans. Jelly beans are kind of gross. Beans. Kia is the new stream start song. I don't know what that is. Hey, Pouch, good games. Yo, I had the Bologna on the remote server. We almost got it. We almost got your Netrunner license. But yeah, that conduit. There's 3 agendas in there. We got robbed. Just saying. Thanks for the game. Large part of net decking is including bad tech cards. Yeah, large part of net decking is taking a good deck and then like making it worse and then realizing why that is. You got to learn by your failures. I feel like, okay, the next question was what card that we care from rotation are we going to be the most missed? So how we're going to do that is I'm going to go sets, and the next standard rotation. That's actually very important to know that somebody from Null Signal recently posted on Reddit. The last ETA we had for the new set was meant to be the end of June. I think it was June 30th. And currently it looks like it's actually going to be mid-July. July 15th would be the middle of July. So it looks like the new cards are going to be out slightly later than expected. That actually is like obviously a bummer. We want the cards as soon as possible. Obviously, if they take time to make them perfect, great. Take that time. But it's going to be really interesting because there's a bunch of big events that are going to be in the middle of summer. At the end of July, specifically on the 29th, is going to be the event that Bushi is running, the Northeast Continentals in Philly, Boston. I forget. I think it's in Philly. Yeah. So like having physical cards for that date actually might be close now. Maybe again, Null Signal can arrange something, Bushi's from Null Signal, but yeah, that's going to be really important. And I know a lot of people are trying to schedule events, their COs and whatever, around when the new cards come out. So just understand at this point, it seems middle of July. Philly. Thank you. Okay, cool. So what's rotating is the question. There's two big sets rotating, all of Flashpoint and then all of Data and Destiny, which is the what's it called? The one with the mini factions and a whole bunch of NBN cards. So we're just going to go to images only and we're going to scroll through this. We're going to spend no more than 3 minutes, ideally, talking about what cards are going to be the most important that are rotating. They're going to make us sad. It's mostly my fault, the delay. I kept not writing more Netrunner fanfic. You let us all down. That's okay, though. FC3 is going? Yeah, Fairchild 3 is going. That's a really big one. This is the best HB Ice for a long time. It's probably not needed, but it is just such a, I would say, meta-defining card where understanding when to run, turn one, click one, only click one, is super, super important. So with the Fairchild gone, all the Felt Children didn't really see play. That's a bit of a bummer. Yeah, Arc Lockdown going. I think I'm happy about that, but this card is technically very important that a card like this exists to some extent. And then there's a whole bunch of really bad Jinteki cards. I'm really glad that Jinteki Ice isn't getting as mean as it is. Jinteki Ice right now feels out of whack. Oh no, friends. Chiashi going. That's cool, I guess. NBN, Data Ward, IP Block going. These are really big deals. I think IP Block is probably a bit overplayed for what it does. In NBN, why not? Data Ward is just kind of the most important thing for that Acme deck. So without it, yeah, that's really rough. The Acme deck actually becomes a fair bit worse. Thoth is going, whatever. Hard-hitting news rotating. That's one of the biggest deals. NBN's win condition. It's gone. They need something new. Yeah, they really need something new. CTM can burn and be forgotten, good riddance. CTM has always been consistently good. There's been no meta where CTM is unplayable. It's probably good right now. Probably not the best right now, but CTM has like nearly or won worlds every year largely. So a lot of people don't like it. Yeah. Alexa, our favorite card. Yeah, Alexa's gone. Chief Sleep going. That's a bummer. Man, Anson Rose. I was talking about Anson Rose this weekend. Fun card. I used to build Anson Rose decks. When's mild hitting news? I'm pretty sure we're going to see something that's hard hitting news. Like for sure we are. Bulwark leaving is important. Mouseless leaving is important. Mouseless more so because it's just one of the generically good Wayland decks, Ice. And anytime a generically good Ice leaves the format, the whole faction obviously just gets less powerful as a whole. And Mouseless is the sort of thing that slots in every single Wayland archetype. It's a total bear of a card. There's like nobody that breaks this reasonably. It's the thing that you generally hope to boomerang and just let them gain a credit, but like nobody breaks this Ice reasonably, and no one triple advances it usually. Stock buyback is going. Yeah, that's good. This card sucked. It's poisonous. Stop giving people incentives to run negative agendas. Stop it. It's not fun. Everyone hates it. Stop doing it. Sandberg goes and we can all laugh. Macrophage. I don't care about Macrophage. Yeah, Mouseless is a really big deal. Let's do Chief Slee deck. I have already played Saul today. Don't make me do that. Best defense rotating, that's actually kind of important, but it's mostly important about hard-hitting news. I don't like cards like this that just can blast out certain cards. Like, oh, if there's any, it's like a release valve in a way that's like, I don't know. It doesn't seem fair or fun. Yeah, whatever. Price tag going, that's kind of important. Anarch stuff. Obelisk, a whole archetype falls apart with this. This is the one card that keeps Tag Me to be relevant. It's the draw engine on its own. I think this is underplayed as a draw engine to some extent. I'm kidding. And our consoles are good. But this card is absurdly good. And I don't know if Tag Me can exist without it because they'll need a lot of slots to make sure they don't just die to stuff. And it's really difficult. This is a really good thing. That's Sandberg. Financial Collapse, the saddest card in Netrunner. This is, oh, the neutral one. Yeah, that is, it's not a nice one. We don't like that one. Yeah, Obelisk going is really sad. Frantic Coding is a slapper of a card. Sees no play. This is probably the most important thing. It's not common that entire factions have been defined by their breaker suite, and Anarchs have been inherently defined by their breaker suite since, what is the date in the bottom corner here? 2016. So every competitive Anarch deck has largely had this as their breaker suite for the last 7 years. So figuring out what they're going to do, I honestly think there's a big chance that the Anarch breaker suite passed the bin breakers. It's not going to be an issue because the breaker suite's probably going to be like busted fixed strength breakers with support, and it's going to be a bit good. But the bigger issue is the way that's going to challenge their consistency and their card draw. Because one of the biggest benefits of these cards is you're happy discarding them. You don't mind playing things like moshing and zero and ways you can get these trashed. And once that's gone, Anarchs are going to have to definitely reconsider a lot. But a lot of people think good riddance. I'm okay with Black Orchestra MK Ultra. Paperclip's a bit ubiquitous. It's a bit too good. These are actually not good breakers, and they feel like the worst part of your deck a lot of the time. And then they have a downside that kind of makes up for that. So they feel fair enough, but they're easily abused. Paperclip is just absurd. 7 years of bin breakers. Yeah, that's the big thing here. It's like, I think no signal games, I'd be really surprised if rotation doesn't speed up. Because playing with the same card for 7 years seems like a bit much. It really does. I don't think there's many other card games that rotation is that slow. So I don't know. It's not so much I want a smaller card pool, but I feel like the fact that we're stuck with tier 1 card, unless there's like most of the meta addressants we get are bans, right? So it's not like, oh, Paperclip's slightly too good. We'll slightly change it with a lot of other card games can get away with. But yeah. Andre forgetting what the Icebreaker suite for Crim decks was called? Anarch suite? No, that's not even true. What are you talking about? That doesn't make sense. They play Paperclip and they play like Bugalter. Goodbye Zero? Is Zero's not here. Well, probably, maybe you can probably say play Zero. I'm not sure. I love heat breakers, but Clippy, I won't miss it. I think there's some really cool ways too that you can make Anarchs care, even with their breakers, about their heap and recursion. When we looked at Nemec's set, there were some like really cool designs there where they're like their cards, like imagine the fixed strength breaker that got more strength or was more efficient, the more copies of that card in your heap. That's a cool way to build like ways that Anarchs can care about being destructive and getting things in their heap. Again, maybe that just encourages a late game monster deck. I would say that on paper it does sound like that, but I think there's so many other cool designs where we can make Anarchs care about the heap that aren't exactly just you can play cards and the heap counts as an additional hand, which is obviously a very hard thing to balance. That's why Black Orchestra and MK Ultra are relatively bad at a lot of things. It's cool. A little bit sad Nefer and Sunya never got a code gate pair up. I'm actually fine with that. I like that they mix up things. I think the biggest crime in all of Netrunner is NFR was car 23 and Paperclip was car 24. Like, what? What are you doing? They were in the same pack. They literally touched each other. Like NFR was just like lucky enough that it could kiss the back of Paperclip's head. Or I guess it would be the other way. That Paperclip was like caressing it. They were spooning in that pack for like weeks in a shipping container until eventually when they were freed into the air of your living room, that it could be separated from binder and card deck, and they would never even, they would just, NFR would be like, oh yeah, oh, I knew Paperclip, we were best friends in shipping. And Paperclip would be like, I don't know who that guy is. What are you talking about? Like, so buck wild. Cleaver Buzzsaw Turbine is pretty strong, but if yeah, it's hard to get that going, David. How's it going, by the way? It's hard to get all that stuff together. Like, it's difficult. Mandatory 8 influence tack for 2x Turbine. I don't know if it's that bad. Hey, I played Vitruvius and Atlas for ages. I don't mind playing them from 5 years. I agree with that, Julien. How's it going? But I think those cards are interesting and they're enablers, right? Like, I'm okay playing Sure Gamble and Project Atlas until the end of the world. But yeah, unfortunately, the breaker suites are a bit, you know, there's more cards that could take that space, and Atlas is just banger. You're right, though. It's not 100% clear. Back in the day when Andromeda would run Corroder, Yogg, Data Sucker. Oh, yeah, sure. And we might come back to that. I think people are realizing that Leech is really good. I think some of the best decks right now in the format are playing Leech. That Spoon was in a different pack. Bring back Page Piper. I love Page Piper. They thought Cipher was going to work. It's a long conversation about Cipher, apparently. Tried playing NFR Padma. It was hella bad. Oh, yeah, it's a charge target, isn't it? I don't know if I said hi, Axu. Hey, Axu. Bird Breakers will be missed. There are so many people who miss the Bird Breakers. I think Khan's ability needs to be reevaluated. Like, I would love to see something like this. I think D-Res as a mechanic is potentially quite poisonous, so I'm very glad that D-Res didn't catch on, because it's another card archetype that just inherently punishes you for playing ice, and the game shouldn't have that many of those, let alone if Criminal just did that, I think the game would suck. So I'm glad that these cards exist as a way for, like, you know, more avant-garde deck builders to put these things together. But yeah, they never did anything. Cortez is good. Temujin is pretty good. Aaron's pretty good. I still haven't found a card that I'm losing it would like make me really sad yet. But that's because I don't have feelings anymore. Khan with that 12 influence. I think Khan with that 12 influence barely moves the needle, unfortunately. Barely moves the needle. So for getting changed from reduce hand to 1, change to reduce hand by 1 was such a mistake. Was that actually what it was? Oh, hand to 1. Yeah, maybe. As for rotation speed, currently the rotation of standard is most of the reason why I don't play standard. That's interesting, I guess. It's super slow in their 2 card pools. FFG and NSG clashing. I don't think they clash. Pretty good. Aw, thanks. I don't know why that was prompted. Drez is toxic from the runner side, but seems okay from the corpse side. Yeah. Misdirection going is huge, but it doesn't actually matter because hard hitting news rotates. So like the poison and the antidote go together. So whatever. Beth hasn't been as seminal as she was for a long time, but that's a very absurd card. Equivocation's a fun one. None of this is good. Netmarker going, Deuce's Wild going is like unfortunate. It's just a good enough card, and it's actually a card that I really appreciate it because how people interacted with this card appreciably changed throughout the history of the game. I think so many people are just excited about draw 2, gain 3 for 1 influence, the sort of pseudo cantrip, and it's obviously fine. But the expose 1 piece of ice and then tag became much more popular as like the interesting thing this card can do that higher skill players use to better effect, and I think that's sick. I think that's really, really cool. Yeah, Baba Yaga is going is obviously really sad, and there's something to be said about uncompetitive cards that make people excited, and Baba Yaga is one of them. Citadel going too sucks. This card is too good. It does too much. But it's like the key linchpin to some of my favorite decks of all time. So bummer. Not even pausing on smoke. Philby, how's it going? We talked about smoke earlier. I've never been a big smoke person. A lot of people are going to miss smoke. Yeah. What's the Habs lamenting rotation? Yeah, Sonny, yeah, we're lamenting. We're talking about like what in rotation is going to be the biggest thing personally to us. So whatever you think, I'd be interested here as well. The part that saddens me is the loss of mini factions. Yeah, David, we'll get to that last. It's the worst part by far. Find the Truth. I was going to say Find the Truth and Reaver rotating really are rough. And Reaver rotating actually is like really, really, really rough. But it doesn't matter because the whole mini faction rotates. This technically is the saddest card to rotate. It's just let there be a happy Netrunner card. That's actually not like a hot take. There's a lot. Bath against the Rich Corp feels so good. It's like wild. 5 clicks is like way better than it sounds. Would Con have been good if it read, first time passing a piece of ice, install a breaker from grip, ignoring all costs. If still installed at the end of the run, return the grip, thematically initiates a bird swooping in. Obviously, it would be better. I don't think that would be good because there's not much that actually supports that, right? Like getting your bird breaker down for free is still probably rough. It's still probably bad. I think if Con had more flexibility and it didn't say icebreaker, if it just said program, I think that'd be interesting. And if Con had some sort of refund, like maybe you could, the amount of money you spend breaking the ice, you could use that to install, but like then it gets really tricky. I don't know, it's hard. But the idea for Con's meant to be a bounty hunter, right? That's what a skip tracer is. And I don't know if that's like well pulled in. Another day, another paycheck, my beloved. It's such a ridiculous card. 20 minutes into this 3-minute segment is hitting a stride. Yeah, whatever. It's the box, the other box, the big one. I built the Baba Yaga deck from Halloween and the Woo got banned before I got to play. Get out, actually? Shit. Citadel won me a game today. Mad Dash the CityWorks project to win. Felt good. I was about to run. I recorded some games yesterday and I was running a CityWorks project with 1 card in hand with a what's it called? A Citadel, which allows you to trash your hand to prevent all meat damage. And my opponent was like, "Are you sure?" Being pretty, I reckon they didn't realize I had a Citadel, because everyone forgets Citadel does the other thing that it does. And then halfway through the run, I was like, yeah, no, I'm sure. And then halfway further through that run, I realized, wait, actually, I want this. This is a good card. I need my Citadel. And then I said, do you mind if I undo it? But yeah, really funny. I just got back into standards. So for me, it's Smoke because I think she's a lot of fun. Smoke is a lot of fun. Yeah. If Con said grip, I don't think Con is the only card that says grip on it. There's a lot of cards that say hand, but they usually care about hand size, but it's not just Con. I do think Con is one of the weirder ways though. All right, NBN stuff. Quantum Predictive Model is one of the best art in Netrunner. That's sad. News team goings is whatever. I like the idea of executives, but whatever, they don't really do anything. None of this matters. Turnpike going is so important. This card needs to be banned. Ban Turnpike. Just ban it. Doesn't make any sense. Card's nonsense. What else we got here? Food going. That's probably the most important card in rotation. Like straight up, because it's a neutral card that every Corp cannon should play. That has huge warping effects on the meta since 2015. One of the most important cards in rotation, bar none. Mini factions just suck to lose them. It just sucks. Feels bad. No way around it. Obviously, they're going to be cooler things in the future, hopefully. But yeah, nobody feels happy about that. I don't have a strong answer to that question. We're now 20 minutes in. I don't have a strong answer. It's probably not a Date and Destiny card because I'm not going to say a mini faction. It's probably a mini faction. It's probably Nexus. I'm a sucker for Nexus. We're going to play Sunny today, so we can revisit that. But I don't think I have a strong idea about this. Mini factions just suck. Out of context. Yeah. No, it feels bad. It feels really bad. But otherwise, I don't know. I don't feel that strongly about a lot of this. It's going to be like pretty important. Always be running for days. They're built different in this city. Let me tell you. They yeah, I don't know, y'all. I honestly have no idea. I'm gonna just say smoke, so people, it feels like I'm on their side about that issue. I'm feigning support, I guess. It's weird out there. I don't know. I know I'm late, but HH in rotation party. Yo, Steven, how's it going? There's gonna be a new one. There has to be a new one. It'll just be like a new one with 7 years of learning behind it. So it'll be probably fair and still interesting. Oh, boom going. Let's just say boom going is like a problem. I like booming runners. Everyone does, right? That's like a healthy thing to do. Base you Sanger an inside leak. Did he leak something? He must have leaked something. You got several more months of smoke left, and you'll get to see a lot of other parts of standard, and hopefully there'll be something for you to enjoy in the new set. Yeah. I don't know who you're responding to, but if it's me, I'm not gutted about rotation. I'm stoked. I think rotation should happen more. So then we can forget what Herald is. That's a shame. Yeah, Quantum Kitty. No opinion on 15 minutes. 15 minutes was like a meta card. It's okay. It should see some play in decks. I don't think one pointers as bad as they are. I'm trying to find 15 minutes, but it's in a different box. It's a cool card. It's like mechanically a very interesting card. It's also a really cool card because players forget they can shuffle back in and then they lose the game. And that's like a narrative you remember. Yeah. Spoilers for the Midwest. I'm running mini factions at every CO and G and K until rotation. Hell yeah. That's really cool. Are you doing all of them, or are you just trying to do mini factions and ignore Apex? I played for the smoke for the first time in Mansion Runner and I was not ready. Yo, how was Mansion Runner? I didn't know much about Mansion Runner, and I've heard about it slightly, and it sounded nice. Was it nice? I would think there's going to be a new stealth thing that helps smoke rotating. Yeah, there are still stealth cards in the card pool, but there's no stealth ability. And mind you, stealth did see play in the history of Netrunner before stealth existed. In fact, smoke was the only identity in the whole game that legitimized stealth in an obvious way. But even before that, people just played stealth in IDs that didn't say that word on it. So that's fine. Adam and Apex currently, I just still haven't done it yet. I was worried I leaked something on accident for a second. Yeah. Yep. Dagger and Cloak released together. Yeah. Creative Commission, Creation and Commission, Creation and Control had a bunch of old stuff. And like Criminal Stealth was actually the most popular stealth for a really long time. It was more popular than Shaper Stealth. And Criminal Stealth probably still works, right? Like as stealth decks are like kind of okay. I don't know why people only play Smoke Stealth. It's like totally fine to play stealth in something else. All right, quick here. Yeah, Andy Stealth was good. Switchblade was wild. Switchblade was really good. Switchblade was the Sentry Breakers and Stealth are always like the best ones. And Switchblade, it was a 0 to boost 7. Put this on my Baba Yaga. Let me Baba Yaga this again. I'll feel young for a minute. Oh, that's so good. Anyways, card was cool. And it was cool too. It was like a stealth card that had like a legitimate downside, because if you didn't have stealth, it was useless. And the stealth cards are not exactly like that. Most of them have a base case, but this was like feast or famine. But the feast was so good. Is Null Signal errata and Garrote to have the weapon subtype? I miss Refractor. 1 credit install for a 3 strength breaker. Yeah, but isn't I was going to say Pennywise. Isn't Penrose the same thing? Tour guy shambles. Sunny was my bridge into standard. I'm going to miss her when she goes. Yeah, me too. I'm going to miss Sunny equally to Adam. I'll remember Apex fondly, but like I won't. If Apex doesn't send a Christmas card, I won't be like, okay. We had a circuit opener. It was just this weekend. I was a bit dire about the meta going into this, and we have some learnings we're going to go through. We had 11 players. Shout out to Artem, who took first place there. I didn't get to play Artem. I came in second. First round, I got swept real bad. Then I got a bye second round, so I didn't play any Netrunner, and then we just kind of submarined up. We ended up a second. What did I play? It was a good question. I played good stuff 419, and I can show you the deck list. And then I played a secret deck from a testing group. I asked somebody, be like, what's a good deck? And then they sent me a list, and it was basically a very similar deck to this sort of thing. I'm not going to share the deck because it's not mine. But I think Julien's version here is a very similar deck. Shout outs to Julien, who absolutely ruined me with this idea of playing Global Food Initiative in a 44-18, because I had Mad Dash in my hand and he did not have an agenda suite that was weak to Mad Dash. And I lost the game, not because of that, but I could have won the game if it wasn't that. So yeah, again, this is exactly like the deck list of the week. It's no different. This one, mind you, is on 5/3s. It's not on the seamless launch, but we have 3 economic warfare, 3 booms, pretty good. And then we also have reversed accounts to be somewhat like our, what's it called? Our Crypto Crash, which I was playing Crypto Crash. The 7th point, mind you, is Echo Chamber. Yeah, This is a good list. It's an archetype. I think Mess and Chesso and White Space, you know, Mess and Chesso is a face check. It's a bit expensive. You're playing as Mari, so you have some money and you could advance this. I think Julian does advance this. And White Space, to me, I don't know. I feel like with Amakua around, I'd probably appreciate Enigma a bit better than this. I think the Enigma face check is just about as good as this. I think losing a click in a very tempo-based matchup is actually super important. So your mileage may vary, but Turnpike, so good. Eula, really good. I don't know if I like IP block over the third Turnpike, but this list is sick. And then I'm one of Market Forces to get you there. I think this is a really good archetype. And this is also where I have to trust myself because I built a deck and I was convinced I liked a certain part of it. And I was convinced there was issues with it. And I didn't have enough time to do some testing with it. But I feel like the things that I was confident about what I should have done, I actually should have believed in myself because I feel like I didn't like some of the changes made to this deck. So this is the base of the shell that I wanted to play at the event. So it's just a good stuff 419. And I'll be honest, I love playing 419. Whenever I'm not sure what the meta is going to be, I play 419 because it slows everybody down, expose matters, and I like having Stargate Mad Dash as a win condition, which this deck can do relatively well. I think it's hard though to play Chesva in this deck as well. But when I was putting this deck together, I had some concerns. There were some problems I had that I couldn't get myself around. Did I have enough card draw? Did I have enough economy? I don't think so. And did I have enough ways to find the stuff very quickly? Looks very similar to 2017 Asmari. Yeah, they're all very, very similar. Losing 3 credits can open you to game-ending HHN. It can, but like not very likely. I do think also the Enigma click can matter equally. Like obviously it's not a bad subroutine. I don't know. I think they're very comparable cards. Sorry, believes what he believes. So the feedback I got on this deck list that I changed, so I didn't play this list. I ended up dropping a Fermenter and I dropped 3 Nukas and I just played 3 Diesels in that slot. And then that's all I played. And I had some issues. I think the card draw on the deck was okay. I really appreciated the 1 copy of No One Home because I never got hard hitting used all day. People just gave up on it. But I think the biggest reason is I feel like I should have 2 mutual favors in the deck. I think that was the one thing that going into this, I was thinking I'm not going to get my breakers soon enough. And so I wanted 2 mutual favors on the basis that I want to be able to find the breaker when I need it because I was playing against mostly NBN all day. And so you can't rely on Amakua that much compared to some of the other factions. And we're not running like Leech or any other Amakua support cards, which I think are actually really, really good right now. I think the Leech Amakua build, the Ma Makua deck is like really strong. I think the other thing that I didn't like about this list, and that we moved to Diesels over this, is that the economy in this deck is really strong. Where's the FAO? Canonically incorrect. But the economy in this deck was entirely tied up into interaction. I feel like whenever I play Criminal, I do appreciate having some amount of economy that's not run-based, that can be just sit back and make money when and if I want it. And I played a similar Asmari list to Saru, where I figured out against the Anarchs that could just sit back and generate money faster than I could generate threat on table. You lose those games more often than not. And so I feel like if I was going to play this deck again, I'd probably spend some influence either on more Fermenters, because this is just a ridiculous economy card, or like go out of the way to play something like a Liberated Counter, a Telework, just something that gives me money, because we end up clicking for credits a fair bit, and I don't think it's bad. I think clicking for credits is reasonable, but I think I play a bit more aggressively than that requires. I also did drop the Chesva, which it's hard to play Chesva when you have Stargate. Your MU gets filled up. And then I played a second Falsified, which I would swear by. The second Falsified was so sick. And yeah, that was the changes I made. I didn't have enough money. In the first game I played against Asaru, against that Asmari deck, we barely got to 6 points. The Mad Dash didn't matter. And then at that point, we just could not run the remote server again to get a Bologna. We just ran out of money, which will just happen. It's unfortunately is just going to happen. So yeah, I do think there were learnings that I was kind of expecting to go in, but I was surprised how much I missed just having like uninteractable economy, as hard as that is to get into Criminal. On a scale of bad to unplayable, how would you rate Zonasual shipping? Rotated out of unplayable. What about Tapeworms? I think Tapeworms are reasonable, but Tapeworm for me doesn't feel like an economy card. It feels like you know, a time lock card. But it's hard when you also play, in theory, Fermenter and Amakua, because then the purge gets a bit too good. But I think you could play them, and I think if you did, though, it just buys you time. It doesn't actually solve your economy issues. Maybe more time is more economy. I would have thought 419 requires 3 falsified credentials. Melius, how's it going? Not a lot of decks do that. Again, pinhole threading also works as your falsified. It allows you to check what's in the remote server and also trash it. The 3 pinhole threading were so good on the event, and 2 missed bones didn't turn out to be necessary, but I would not leave home in a competitive environment without missed bones. And speaking of the meta, I was worried it'd be all techie. It'd be a bit of a grinder, but like what was most popular? Outfit. Montreal loves Outfit. It's a really fun matchup to play against. And that was mostly it. It was playing against Outfit and NBN all day. So just hard-hitting news decks all day, which let me tell you, just having a good enough economy and a single copy of No One Home, if it can hit the table, buys you miles in those matchups. So if you're worried about that sort of meta, it's actually really easy to fix. One influence will do it and you'll be in a good spot. But great time. Huge shout out for organizing, Asaru, all the folks who came out, and there's going to be another event in a couple weeks. I don't know the date offhand, but if someone reminds me, I'll be able to say it right now. 419 deserves to be part of the Nexus send-off. Speaking of that, the deck list we're doing a deck dive on next, it should be up next weekend, or next week, excuse me, is yeah, Nexus 419, because this is one of my favorite archetypes and it's still really good. It's still really, really good. I love playing a Security Nexus. Speaking of that, let's go play a Security Nexus. Oh, real quick on the news. This is really important. Null Signal's looking for sponsorship for American Continental Championship. They want to do one of the Continentals, which have been classically online only, in person. So if it's something that you're able to host, there's some conditions and some caveats and stuff, but like they'd like to hear from you, sponsorship details. It's a technical document, but if you're interested, check this out. The one reason to shout this out for people who are not interested in organizing is they show some of the prize support coming up. That is Unsmiling Serevna by Balance Sheet. And then we see full art, alt art, Bolognas, and they're like sick. That's a really good Bologna art. Mind you, Bologna is the Roman goddess of war, and her crest is the Titan Transnational credit symbol, which is sick. Those are also by Balance Sheet. That's looks really pleasant. Obviously, there'll be more prize support, but check that out. Have people over to my house to play a tournament? You could do it, David, if your house is big enough and you agree to whatever the obligations are. Most people have been loving Outfit, and AMT Outfit was the most played deck. I'm not surprised. Outfit is like such a lore-based success. Like everyone understands what they're doing. It feels good to be bad. And the deck is just really good right now. Without Endurance, it's hard to face check into Bulwark and Trebuchet. It's like a genuinely cool deck that also got an injection of a brand new win condition. So it technically has like 3 win conditions because of regulatory capture. So that's really, really sick. Montreal Circuit Opener number 2, May 27th. Nice. Come to Mansion Netrunner next year? Yeah, okay. How was it, Dan? I asked about that. No one answered me. Andre, you think Crims needs crowdfunding back so they don't need to always run for its econ? That's okay. Okay. Doing well. I'm really excited to do more tournament. I feel like I've learned a lot. Oh, also on this channel, we ran a tournament. I'm going to send out the prize support early next week. Apologies. It's been a while to get all that together, but I got it all together now. We'll send it out soon. Apologies. Thanks for your patience. I witnessed Hoshiko with Nexus and Archivist is pretty good. Yeah, for what it's worth, Daojin, there's like frighteningly few cards that give you Link right now in Standard. Archivist is one of the only 2. I think it's like only Archivist, Nexus, and then the Bird, Cyber Trooper Talut. So like Archivist technically is like something, as much as like you could play any econ card in that slot, I imagine. That playmat is gorgeous, Chrissy. Yeah, it's really good. It's really, really quite good. Mansion Runner was awesome. What can you tell me more? There's amazing, so much fun. There's even some Netrunner, but mostly hanging out with more Netrunners and playing cool board games. Hey. The next NSG lead designer needs to start a design podcast called Telework to Work. Speaking of this, you might have heard that June Cuervo, the prevailing, what's the term for this? But the Null Signal Games lead designer, they've stepped down. And so there's a spot here for a new lead designer. So Null Signal Games is looking for a new lead designer. And if you want to get involved, to send in your submission, all this sort of stuff, there is an article up here. Obviously, it's a pretty, I would say, intimidating role to some extent, but I have no doubt a very satisfying and rewarding role with a lot to learn, let alone a lot of ways to like, you know, do cool Netrunner stuff. So if you want to get involved in that, check that out. Again, you can find that on Null Signal Games. That's it for the news. Let's go build a Sunny deck before Sunny leaves rotation forever. I don't know what Mansion Runner is. Can you post the URLs? So I think Mansion Runner was an event that was organized on the East Coast of the States for a bunch of Netrunner folks to get together at like a chalet or cottage and then just like hang out for a weekend. I think it just happened like 2 weekends ago. That's all I know. It was in America, which is across the border. Sunny. Okay, let's go. All right, so this is Sunny. Sunny is a blank identity. 2 blank identities in an evening. What has he done? But Sunny starts with a 50 card deck. That's pretty bad. Small deck equals better. 25 influence though, which is really important considering the Sunny faction only has like 13 cards in it, maybe a dozen cards. But we start with 2 Link. That's meant to be our ability. For those who are new to the game, maybe are playing only Startup, Link actually doesn't really matter almost at all in Startup. And that's this number up here in the top left corner. For this to make sense, we have to understand what traces are. Traces are a thing in which runners and corporations throw money at each other, and your link is the base amount of money you get for that trace. So if a corporation initiates a trace 5 and pays 2 credits into it, it's trace 7, and then it goes to you, and your base trace is 2. So if you want to tie the trace, make it unsuccessful, you have to at least hit that 7. So you're going to pay 5 additional credits. That's all this is. So the question is 2-link that important? Obviously in startup it's not, but in standard, specifically it's nice into NBN decks that are tracing you consistently, but most importantly, the deck has ways to make trace fire consistently in a favorable way, considering we're probably going to have 3-link by the early to mid game. And so anything that traces is generally going to be pretty good for us. And that's why you play Sunny. Sunny has some really interesting cards. It's a deck that at some point was almost good enough to bring to Worlds. If you ask some of the folks from some of the European testing groups, it was between Sunny and Atom. It was kind of a toss-up 2-3 years ago when Atom did well at Worlds. So Sunny decks are interesting. Mind you, it's a different landscape right now because a lot of times these sort of decks are defined by how they get economy, because inherently in faction, we don't have a lot of cards. So if there's like really robust economy engines that cost little influence, these decks generally got a bit better. And again, those 2 to 3 years ago at Worlds, it was kind of a mess of like very efficient low influence econ packages for all the mini factions Apex discarded. Published a funky Sunny recently. Yo, Diogen, I saw your Sunny list. I think the fact that you're not playing White Hat sends you to Sunny jail, and I'm not sure how you're deep diving in a Sunny deck, considering Sunny can't run that much in a turn. June, the former designer, moved on to her dream job. Yeah, no, she I think before she started NSG, she was working at Riot, and now she's really working at Riot. Like I reckon it took up more of her time, so I think that's what that was about. Oh, that Piotr, lead designer stepping down sounds somewhat scary. No, yeah, no. June works as a designer, I think, on Valorant. And that's obviously like a pretty time-intensive job, I reckon, being, you know, one of the biggest shooters in the world. So, yeah, no, it makes sense. It tracks. I did 2 Sunny, one with the hats, one without. Oh, okay, cool. So, cool thing about Sunny is Sunny has very few cards. We'll talk about the really important ones, and then you generally end up playing most of the other cards just because you don't have a lot of cards anyways. Reminder that the design team is much bigger than just a lead designer. That's a really good shout out, Dan. That's actually a very, very good shout out. I think a lot of this like idea of how games work, let alone how null signal games work, is probably, you know, a bit lost on a lot of folks, myself included. So yeah, there's a lot of people there. If you want to get involved in many other positions, you can reach out for sure. So this is the biggest Sunny card. It's called Security Nexus. It's a console that initiates a trace. This is the preeminent, what you could compare potentially endurance to, but this is something that actually cared about credits, because once you ran into a piece of ice, this didn't even give you 2 MU. You could do a trace through 5. Again, you'll have at least base trace 3. Mostly corporations can't afford to boost this trace. It's usually a losing proposition unless it's the winning run of the game. And then if it fails, you just take a tag and end the run. So at any point in time, if you run into an ice that has horrible starter routines, you can bypass it, let alone just say panic, I'm going to end the run and take a tag. So that's really sick. This is one of the big reasons to run Sunny, so we're going to play 3 of them. It's important to get this down. People should not be worried about things. Main thing for lead designers, setting long-term design vision and helping steer the team in the right direction. That was an important role. Citadel plus Hot Pursuit? Yeah, it's interesting. I think maybe. I think Hot Pursuit, I'm not sure how much influence it is. I think I'd also want to look at credit kiting. I'm not sure how much influence this is. I think it's 2 influence. 3. This is a really nice card too, because it allows you to get your Citadel Sanctuary down for free. We'll just see how our influence goes. It's sometimes hard in these decks that run 50 cards to spend a lot of influence on 1 or 2 cards, as opposed to like spending a little influence on a lot of cards, because you're not guaranteed to draw into anything really. Archivist is way too much influence for, again, a single card that in a 50 card deck, you're probably not going to draw into. And it's only as good as any other econ card you could put into your deck, right? Like how much traces do you get out of the Archivist? How much money do you spend? Save? Is it 5 credits? Maybe we just play daily cast, you know? Like it's hard. 4 influence for a 50 card deck is hard. Why was Archivist 4 influence? Because it's a poisonous ability technically, right? Like if every corp could just get bad publicity for just doing the normal thing they were doing, it's probably not good. I don't know. Now I'm super curious when Mansion Runner was at. It was close enough. I'd gone. I'm pretty bummed. Okay, so cards that are really cool. I think the next most important Sunny card is White Hat. This thing is ridiculous. Play only if you made a successful run on a central server this turn. It's really easy for Sunny to do that. It's hard to keep Sunny out. But force the corp to trace 3. If unsuccessful, you got to see all of HQ, and then you shuffle 2 cards back into R&D. This is just such a powerful ability. Not only do you get to see their hand, not only do you get to dismantle their combos, but now HQ is 3 cards. So if you can run HQ and see 3 cards on multi-axis, you're going to see everything. And this just wins games. This is one of the best Sunny cards of all time. I think this is like very, very, very good. I think the terms white hat and black hat, for what it's worth, are pretty outdated modernly. But black hat's the other one you can do, and it's just less good. It's expensive just to see a couple more cards. In theory, they work together, but I don't even know if we play one copy of this. Whatever. Hey, Rockman, how's it going? How you doing? Banhar, Jackson Clare. I don't know if we have to Banhar in the deck, but Jackson Clare is a really good card. You get a free run at the beginning of your turn. We usually play Jack for 1 to 0 credits. And when your turn begins, you may make a run, but you can't use programs during this run. This is one of the most important cards to understand what is using a program. Using a program is making a decision with the program. So boosting, strength, breaking subroutines, that's always definitely using it. But it's very important to know that cards like Leech that says whenever you make a successful run on a central server, place 1 buyer's counter on this program, this top text, that's not considered a use. It's just something that happens, so you're not technically using it. It's pretty weird, but that's an important distinction that actually can come into play. The idea that you can Jackson Clare to run archives to get an Amakua counter is totally fine. And actually, I think Amakua is a really, really, really good Sunny card. I think Amakua Leech is just very good right now. DreamNet is very important for Sunny, so Citadel for the tag of Security Nexus. I'm not sure if I love Citadel. I think you do play 1 or 2 for sure, but I think DreamNet is just a 3 of in this deck. This card's so good. Anyone wants to chat about Mansion Runner? I'll show some pictures of General on GLC. Yo, Dan, I'll check that out after stream. Not too dated in the security industry? Really? I thought like people agreed to change some of these names that they didn't like. Jack is good. Mind you, Jack is just good enough that we get a free run and then we can use the Nexus if we run into something. It's good. You generally want 2 of them, and it works so well with DreamNet. Mind you, DreamNet is technically a Sunny card, as much as Null Signal Games hasn't printed a Sunny card, because if you have 2 link, you get a card and a credit. So good, especially when we're running for free. I think that's the basis of our deck. The cool thing about these decks we're seeing recently, these sort of like Amakua based decks, they're generally Amakua based decks that are also running support cards, things like Leech. I don't know if we play 2 or 3 of these. And the idea is that any run on archives gives us generally an Amakua counter and a Leech counter. So we're already breaking 2 strength ice. So if we can run again, suddenly we're breaking 4 strength ice only once a turn. And then you can back that up largely with Security Nexus. Now, a lot of these times, these decks need other ways to kind of like leverage that ability because they can get fully locked out. So I think we're going to play some minimal amount of Sunny Breakers, but also like we can go out our way to play the things that like make Amakua in a pinch like not the worst thing. So like you can probably play Security Chip if you want. I don't love this card, but just having one of these on the table means that our Amakua suddenly can become 4 strength out of nowhere or 3 strength out of nowhere. That's actually pretty good. 3x Leech, you have infinite MU? Yeah, we probably can. We probably should. This deck is looking like this list. Let me check that out in a second. Katurga breakout for White Hat Recursion. I don't know if you need to do that. In a 50 card deck, it's like kind of hard. I think we can just play more copies. Link to Hat Trick. Oh, is this your deck? Ooh, yeah, this looks good. Oh, I've seen this one. This is an older one. So Black Hat, I don't like. Jailbreak is okay. Acacia, I don't believe in, but we have to worry about economy in this deck. Citadel is great. Fenris, Nuka. I think Nuka is an interesting card draw card. You definitely need it. I like a lot of this. I think this is cool. This is cool. Fermenters probably makes a lot of sense too. I wonder if going only viruses is going to be a problem, but I guess that's why you play Acacia and you're happy about it. But I think it's going to be close enough to this. That's pretty cool. Like the Sunny Day on Mars. Is that a deck? In terms of Sunny Breakers, I think the only one that's like kind of noteworthy is Sherman. I feel like I'm not actually sure why we'd have to play Sherman. I think we can play 1 of each, but Sherman, like I do think the only things that scale, this breaks any number of barrier subroutines. Are we running to Musfingos? I guess there's a chance that we have to run a copy of Striker maybe. But the thing is, like, if there's any single ice that we just can't deal with Amakua, we Security Nexus through it. So I feel like we need a really good reason to play any of these. Like, technically you play Sherman because of things like wraparound that don't see play. IP block is not a problem because you can trace through it, let alone you can Nexus it. So yeah. Sherman eats Eula alive. Oh, that's a really good reason to play Sherman. Just the fact that Eula sees consistent play is a good enough reason to play Sherman. 2 to break all of Eula's absurd. Global Sec Security Clearance is an interesting card. I think I would consider playing this deck card as a 1 of. It's not really something that you want early. Inherently, you're a deck that's pretty slow to set up. So spending a click a turn to see the top of the deck is honestly a pretty reasonable trade. And this means that we can play Mad Dash, one of the best cards in the entire format, with pretty good security. So I do think, pun included, I do think that we want to play this card. I think maybe a 1 of, and it's a card that usually sometimes gets cut. But I think it's a very reasonable card. You just don't use it until you are set up. And at that point, I don't even know if it's necessary. It might be just worse than star gaining every turn or something like that. All right, Office Supplies is just good. Draw 4, gain 4, technically draw. Yeah, it's good. Find the Truth at Home. Yeah, it's Find the Truth at Home. You could play just Find the Truth for sure. Oh, this is it. Sunny Day on Mars. Let me see. Oh, it's in one of your decks. Oh, this is the one that you posted. I don't like this deck at all. I like the other one a lot better. This sounds a bit harsh, but like no free lunch, no one home, 3x. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Like you're inherently very good at both of these things, so I don't think you need that. Like you can play Citadel. DreamNet, I think I like 3x DreamNet a lot. I don't like Nexus, and I don't know how you deep dive with both Matryoshkas and Nexus. Like they inherently are a bit tricky to put all together because you're just not good at running a lot. Yeah. A lot of Sunny lists are going to be the same inherently because there's only so many cards. But I like the other Sunny list you published, I think, a bit better. It's more my style. Jackson Claire deep dive, it'd work. I have no doubt it works. I just don't think it's optimal. So we'll try and figure out what optimal looks like. Maybe. I don't think we will. Dirty Laundry, Earthrise. Career Fair is pretty nice. You do have a lot of 3-cost installables. So like all of this as a start, it generally does show up in Sunny decks. What else do we want to get into here? We got to figure out how we get our economy package in here because we just don't have enough economy for sure. Security Nexus is a bit slow and a bit expensive. So we have to figure out whether we're going to go, how aggressively we're going to go into this. Whether we want to go for the slower long econ, things like Liberated Accounts is pretty good, but maybe a bit too slow for the deck. Whether we want to go for Fermenter, whether we want to go for even like Aeneas Informant does make a sense with the deck. It's a way to get value off Amakua for the asset-based matchups. I think that's kind of neat. And we're going to need more card draw for sure. Fermenters, I think Fermenters is like very reasonable. I'm worried though that if we run 3 Amakua, 3 Fermenter, and 3 Leech, like we're going to get purged and it's going to put us back to the Stone Age. It's just kind of hard when you go all in onto the AI, or sorry, into the viruses. That does punish you. So I might want to try and find a way that doesn't get all purged out at once, because that's like by definition every egg in a single basket. Huh. Acacia, that's what's in the other deck, and I don't actually like Acacia. It doesn't really do anything you want it to do. It's not reliable. If the corporation doesn't purge, we're fine. But it's not an economy card you can rely on. The amount of money you need to get off this to make it better than the consistency of like, you know, daily cast is, to me, is not very clear. And then still you've got your everything purged, which is probably bad for you. Deuces, yeah, Deuces is really good. Again, low influence cards feel a bit better in a 50 card deck. We have 12 influence to spend though. We can do something pretty wild here. Telework, I think Telework is like comparable to Liberated. Maybe we feel better playing Liberated because we have 3 Career Fair. But I think here we can actually make some pretty big swings at maybe some higher influence cards. I think Exposed is actually pretty reasonable in this deck. So like, what's it called? What's that Exposed card? We want to play Mad Dash for sure. But the one day you look at a thing in a remote server, that's really important. You'd better off to do the GS with K2CP. I don't think we're going to rely on these breakers at all. I think Leech will get us there. But I don't think we're gonna get a lot of value. Falsified, yeah, Falsified's really good because we're slow and we can't always run all the time. That might make sense. I think we could just probably play like a bunch of diesels in this deck. It'd be fine. Like it's probably good enough. We have Earthrise. Yeah, we just need more money. We just need more money in this. Moshing or Raindrops. It's really hard to play Moshing because we have no value from discarding our cards. Raindrops is a lot of influence for what it does. Like 3 influence for this effect doesn't make sense unless you can get good value from it. Stargate for WinCon, it makes good sense. That puts us at 50. I just don't think we have anywhere near enough money now. Yeah, we just don't have enough money. How do we get money? Is there a way to slap Pinhole threading on top of that? Oh, we probably should have Pinhole. Yeah, maybe that's the Career Fair slots, but I feel like we just don't have cash. I also was kind of interested at playing some sort of HQ pressure, like just even a Dawkins pass would be good because it works with everything else. Build script? No, I'm not playing build script. Pinhole does the same job with half the influence. It does. It isn't money though. But yeah, you're probably right. That is probably just an easier card to play. Maybe Info Bounty. Info Bounty is difficult because inherently we're not very good at running early. And then we don't have a lot of control. We don't get that much value from running servers that aren't servers we inherently want to run. So I would rather go out of the way to play something like Liberated in this slot sooner than that. Falsified probably has to go for flavors for 2 Liberated. Yeah, I think 2 Liberated would like make good sense. And then we can probably cut something. I don't know if it's card draw. Right now for card draw, we have Deuces, Diesel, Office Supplies, DreamNet. Maybe we have too much card draw, honestly. Maybe we can get away with that. Maybe that's, oh, we can cut a card probably. Creative Commission may work. Creative Commission can't be bad. There's no way Creative Commission is bad. We probably end up cutting this, honestly. Like, this is not a card you want to see early. It just gets cut. Nuke instead of Diesel. I think I'd like Nuke instead of Diesel if we didn't have, like, we have a lot of good long-term card draw. Nuka is slow, but she's more mass card draw. It's the sort of thing that we can play the deck like once or twice and see if we just are slightly short a bit of card draw, and then we can trade Nuka for Diesel. But I always like playing Diesel to start because it's such an easier card to play. We just, you know, smash Diesel, go. I think this is fine. I'm worried we don't have enough money. I think we might be surprised how much money we have, but I doubt it. I'm wondering how we can do like drip long game engines. Like I think Aeneas Informant is the only thing that would be like low influence permanent econ, as that is unreliable, but it works with our game plan. Otherwise, like Tapworm is low enough influence, and we don't mind when they slow down. Smartware, yeah, Smartware is also like a bit difficult because we're inherently a slow deck. I think we can maybe cut security chip here. It's just clear Smartware. I'm not gonna do that one. But yeah, again, it's another slow card in a deck that like can veer to be too slow. That's one of the big reasons that you have to understand why people also don't play Sunny consistently, is a lot of people look at Sunny and think Sunny is too slow. And that, yeah, it makes sense. Sunny is often too slow. So you want to go out of your way to like, you know, inject as much fuel as you can. Security chip does not seem good. I think security chip could easily be a one of. I want to try it because abstractly, so there was a card back in the day called, what was the guy with the briefcase called? The blue guy that did this. Also, what was the other guy who did this? A Dean Lister. These sort of cards had a spot classically in these sort of like Sunny lists or any list. Maxwell, thank you. That's exactly it, Solmir. These were the lists that relied on Amakua. They would have a card like this that they would install, and then they wouldn't crack the card until they need it. Dean Lister got banned for a while, but it's now rotated. It says trash, choose an icebreaker until the end of the run. The icebreaker has +1 strength for each card in your grip. That's an absurd thing. It's for the entire run, and you just pick Amakua, and Amakua is suddenly 5 strength. Which breaks basically every ice in the format, heaven forbid 6 strength. And cards like this were really important as a way to ensure that you felt like you're putting some pressure on the remote server if you just had Amakua and then you got purged out. And obviously this is not the same as what we're playing the chip, but cards like Dean Lister, Maxwell James are like, have a pretty good slot in these decks that are like inherently a bit AI based and have some weaknesses. This was another card that kind of got you there. Mind you, this card was absurd. It got errated like twice, I think. It was just really good. Perfect weather. We'll try this. See how it goes. See if we can find some more money. Injection attack. Injection attack, unfortunately, is just a worse version of that card, and it's a card you have to keep in your hand. The beauty of Dean Lister and the other one is just like it was an ongoing threat that you could dump from your hand on turn 1 and not feel bad. But like all these cards like injection attack and push the envelope, there's so many of them that have like only slightly different text. And the only reason this card would see play, it's also really funny in a world of Turbine, is if you're relying on an AI abstractly, but it doesn't really make sense. Like +2 while Dean Lister gave you +5, like what? Are you using browser extensions to search Netrunner directly from your address bar? No, not actually. So I'm on Firefox, and I think you can do this in just about anything. But if you right click on Firefox, you're not going to see drop-down menus on the way that my screen captured. Imagine a drop-down menu, and in here it says add a keyword search for this term. And then you just hit that and you set it up so that when I do /n, it just searches that search box on Netrunner DB. I can do other ones too. Like I can do Arkham for /a, and I just set these up. Firefox supports it. I think Chrome probably does on its own. /nd, I think search deck lists too. So we can search, I don't know, Ma, and it'll search a deck list named Ma. They're handy. It helps a lot. If you ever find yourself using the same search query a lot, it's a really easy way to do it. But I have it for most of the card game DBs that I look cards up quickly. Perfect weather. I have a weirdo game net deck, and I always want to be eaten by your Sunny. I will lose amusingly. Alice, how's it going? I'm definitely down for a game. I hate game net, but I'll do it. I'll be happy to do it. Chromium does support it. Okay, sick. I think GameNet is actually like, I'm not sure what the text on GameNet is, but if we boost our trace, it's not a corp card, so GameNet doesn't get the money, right? But yeah, if you spend money, don't worry, it's trash. We'll see. Do you want to host then? I'll join if you host. Awkward stream delay time. How's everyone doing, by the way? It's a Metropole Grid. I haven't shown this in a minute. Got it. All right, we're in. All right, we're playing against GameNet. I don't like GameNet. All right, so GameNet, we're playing 49 cards. It says whenever a corp card ability causes a runner to spend or lose credits. That's totally fine. The fact that it says a corp card means that, oh, did we put a Citadel in our deck? I don't think we did. Doing great. Thanks for asking. Hey, good to hear. Yeah, I feel like we might have forgotten to put a Citadel in the deck, which is really good because otherwise we have to clear the tag manually if things go poorly. So I think that's probably a mistake. Yeah, we forgot to put a Citadel in there. We definitely should. Amaku is not going to work that well because they're probably running IP block. This early hand doesn't have great economy and is kind of interaction based, which is difficult for hard-hitting news. So I think we're going to mulligan here. The best thing is we have a dream net, but I don't think we can hold this unless we have like a sure gamble. I just hit the keep button. How do I mulligan? Is there a slash mulligan? I'll just shuffle my hand in. I'm good, but really tired. Good luck, have fun. Oh, hopefully you're getting the rest you need. If you set up your default search engine for Netrunner to be, you can search for an exclamation network card name. It'll do the same thing. Oh, get out. All right, we're going to do a manual mulligan. This is ugly. Shuffle. Slash draw 5. Best of luck, have fun. And we're off. Game net, yeah, is usually really slow. Fully, you're totally right. That's going to favor us for sure. And our opening hand, I don't know how quickly we jam in office supplies. I think we probably have to do it for card draw here. But if we do this, we pay 2 to gain 4. It's a click for 2 credits. That's pretty rough. We could just get Amakua down and start running, but we're not really incentivized. A lot of their ice is going to be like, oh, we're giving them money. So this is a very bad hand. Our other hand was better. This is a really bad hand now. I really don't know what to do with this hand. Again, getting Amakua down early is really ugly into IP block. And yeah, we definitely forgot a way to clear tags. So that's something we have to address. I don't know, honestly, this card's better than clicking for credit, but it's not much better than clicking for credit. The thing is, like, it's going to be a long time before this improves above that. We could be brave and draw here, but then we can only draw into like daily cast, something like that. So I think we can just play that slow. Welcome to Sunny. It's not that bad, don't worry. Already in bed. I remember to change my name on YouTube because it was my real name and randomly thought maybe the company I work for can track what is commenting videos during work hour. Yo. Increase your link strength. Like, I literally don't know what this is. Like, we could just get, like, do we just run this and get, what it called? Hard-hitting news? If it's a Bologna, do we just get, like, Urticud? Do we just, like, lose on turn 1 or turn 2 to, what's it called, the checkist? I don't think we run that. I don't think there's any winning line that we run that. All right. Okay, that's something. I think we can consider getting the Amakua down in, like, Dirty Laundering. Again, once we hit an IP block, we're pretty sad. And we're actually really good at IP block inherently. Let's try up one more. I was going to say a Dream Net, but I don't honestly know if we want to put that down. So if we put the Dream Net down and with the Dirty Laundry, we'll be down 5, gain 5. So we'll be gain a card and a credit, and we can discard a card. That seems fine. We want a jack, I think. Thought office supplies was so much better in my mind. Replaced or with and. Oh yeah, imagine it was both. We don't need this at this point in time. It's not a bad card, and it was like kind of exciting when it came out. But in theory, they could have here 14 credits. We're still hard to hard-hitting news. Planogram for draw. So it seems like it is an NGO. But again, if they're confident that this is like a strange deck, it could just be a trap deck. Trap decks don't have to really worry about the basic angles of economy. So sometimes you can just get away with it. And here we have so much value from running archives. Okay, they're pushing a remote server. I think there's a good chance that we want to just pinhole this and see what it is. It gives us a card and a credit, so it's largely free. The question is whether we need to get our leech down. And if we do, it means that we can deal with ping. I'm going to do it. So if successful run, we get a card and credit first because we're linked up. It's really important that they ice up archives. It's an NGO front. Sick. It's a Rashida. We'll pay 1 to trash that. All right, so they have 14 credits. We definitely want to get these down. We'll drop and we'll just get these down. We're pretty okay against hard-hitting news with 10 credits, but we, again, this could just be the deck list of the week with an ID that does something. So strictly better. If office supplies was draw 1 or 1 credit, then do it 3 more times. It might be very interesting. If you have 4 link, you draw 4, gain 4. That'd be really good. The problem with that card is like, it's so strange because it's only good when you set up. But the problem is like Sunny needs to set up. Like that was always the big issue with Sunny. Red level clearance to draw 2 clicklessly. Okay. So this means that they're probably doing some sort of fast advance because you don't see this a lot in other decks. All right, we'll start with this. Dirty Laundry Archives is just gas. We could actually get our Nexus down and charge this. I think this might be an agenda. All right, this drops us down to what? 6 credits? 8 credits? 8 credits. Unfortunately, we're running last click and we might take a tag. If it's a ping, we take a tag for sure. I think we can just run it. Like, what could be bad? I'm not sure what could be bad here. If it's anything that's trace based, we're pretty favored. If it's a EULA, like that's the best case for them. Oh shit. You see? Enigma versus what's it called? White space. I think the click is more important than 3 credits. They get a Bologna? They get a Bologna. Okay, cool. So we could have contested that. At this point, we just want to poke centrals a bit. I don't think we're going to get Amakuwa down until we see most of their ice, because like we laugh at like IP block as much as we do give them a credit. But it's been now a lot of turns. They've drawn through, what is it, 15 cards. So there's definitely an agenda in HQ here. Let's go find it. I think there's a chance we could get them the Nexus first. Especially because it does make the office supplies better. Ah. Enigma, so good. So good. Okay, we're running R&D here. We, again, just want to get a successful run because of the DreamNet. No res. Okay, is it a toll booth? Is it cost 8? Non-equivalent. Interesting. We'll just get some money down here. And we're pretty good to charge remote server next turn. And GameNet whitespace is better than Enigma? I guess you're right. There's a chance that in GameNet's better, but like that face check seems more important here. We would have gone through the remote server. Like obviously you don't rush behind a whitespace. Yeah, I don't know. I think with Amakuwa around, I'm really worried about playing 0 strength ice. I'm more interested in the Messna Chespo, I'll be honest. But I feel like my version of the deck doesn't have as much money. I know we talked about it. All right, so here we can definitely contest the remote server. Our play would be play Amakuwa, run archives. In fact, maybe not even Amakuwa. Well, no, there's 2 ice. We probably need Amakuwa. We could play Amakuwa, run archives. We don't need to run archives. We could run archives. And then run server 1. I think that's fine. IP block is like not the worst. Yeah, I think that's what we do. All right, so they threw out a magnet. So they're just good stuff. So this we can do with a 2 strength and a 4 strength. So we can actually beat IP block here. Small chances in NGO front. They've shown 1 so far, but they don't have a lot of money to res. So even as an NGO front, we're in okay spot. So they're not resing there. It's an Enigma. We're okay with the successful run anyways. This costs us 2 credits. We need 1 of those. Again, the combination is so good. I think this is really underrated. Just leech Amakuwa. We'll get you everywhere. Yeah, it's an NGO front. That's fine. So they need to crack it now. We still get a Amakuwa counter, so we're okay with that. And then we have a question on what we want to do last click. I think the leech itself is fine. We can run HQ for a credit. I think that's also really good, considering we don't care about the last 17 here. And again, they've drawn through, what is it now? Nearly 20 cards. So there's definitely agendas in here. Why not double leech? I think we can. I don't know if it's necessary. And we had better things to do this turn, but at some point we will. Like at this point though, like we're going to break everything relatively easily. Oh. Yeah, that doesn't matter. I got scared for a second. Planogram. Okay, so we know they have a planogram and a non-equivalent in hand. Yeah, our clicks are just more important than this right now, right? Like we can deal with 7 strength ice. It's not going to get bigger than this. And once they start actually taxing this out, that's when we'd rather get the Nexus down. And obviously paying a credit for leech doesn't seem bad, but getting the Nexus down is more important for us. That's in theory all we need. And at some point, again, once we get the Nexus down, then we're happy to play office supplies to drain 4, gain 4. But again, an archives run is a leech counter, an Amakuwa counter, a card, and a credit. It's absurd. It is absurd click compression. They really need to do this. And even if that's the case, if they res ice on archives, unless it's like even a turnpike, we don't mind. We're in a good spot. But I think we run R&D because I think that's a toll booth. And I think if they pay a toll booth here, they're kind of out of the game. Non-equivalent. We gain 2. They gain 5. Again, GameNet only fires during a run, so they don't actually get paid from that. We'll take the 2 credits. If they don't put something into server 2, they're in a really bad spot. Okay, they did. All right, with 15 credits, I do think they'll res a bit more. Let's run R&D here. We just want the card and credit. Drumming another lead might force them to purge sooner than that. Yeah, that too, like maybe. But I think they have to purge the Amakuwa more than they have to purge the leech at some point. Yeah, so it was a toll booth. That's fine. So we can go through this. Virus, break. We lost 3 credits, so they gained 1. And eventually we just trace through this thing. Off-world will steal it. We don't get a turtle counter. Here we probably want to run the remote server. Yeah, I think we just run the remote server here. Again, also even the security chip is like a safety valve. Like this is the value of this card, not that we are installing it. But here we can deal with 6 strength ice, so we can deal with any ice, I think, in the format. Maybe data ward we can't, but then we just like Pay 2 or whatever. Ah, another toll booth. Okay, sick. So again, Nexus is going to be well positioned here. But yeah, going through this for a credit is like really good. Again, this engine is really, really good. I think this is one of the best breaker suites. I don't know. People stop playing Leech for a minute. I think it's a Rashida. I don't think it's an agenda. Oh, it is. Wow. That's a bad turn for them. So here, we are not worried about economic differential here. Again, we have 2 link. So I think we just need to get our money down because we're not going to be able to afford to run through all this stuff over and over again. So liberated counts is totally safe here when we're on 8+2 link. And here, if they can't res archives, like we run archives again, we get 2 virus counters, a card, and a credit. It's really, really quite good. So far, we've only seen code gates. They just purged, and we're totally fine with that. Like with 1 credit, like we just rebuild that. Purging when there's an empty or when there's an open central server is usually a mistake because like we just rebuild it so quickly. So all we want to do here, I think there's a chance that we want to run archives again just to get this to 4 strength. But all we want to do is get money. I do think we can afford to get down the Earthrise here because it's very likely we draw into like a hedge fund or sorry, a sure gamble. Or even like an exposed card on the remote server saves us having to run the remote server, which would be nice. But yeah, purging again when you're on 1 credit, it's awkward because we're going to be able to get this. Oh, that's a good planogram though. Ooh, that's good money. So order doesn't matter. There's the sure gamble that we wanted. So this is where we can like put down the security chip, run archives. Ideally, we get the successful run trigger to get both of these, and then we get something to career fair. And if not, we just keep cracking the money button. At this point, too, they've gone through 20 cards, so running HQ is actually really good last click. If they don't res here. Oh, it's a Eula. That's sick. We break that for 2 credits, so we're just going to let that fire, and then we run HQ. So now, we can always run HQ last click to get a card and credit. We'll discard a card, but we can discard the office supplies. They don't do much. Yeah, this sort of like the breaker suite is super overbearing. It's really, really hard to keep everyone out. And very likely that there's something in hand. Again, we've seen 3 agendas in 20. We're expecting about 1 in 5. Subsidy. Okay, good that we made them spend money there. We're going to throw out, I think actually the second leech doesn't seem that necessary. There's a chance that it's actually worse than the office supplies. But we're like basically set up. Let's try the second leech. Be really, really intimidating. Hey, Montegrain, yo, it's Big Sunny Hours. It is. Yeah, we've been playing blank IDs all day. Why not make a whole evening out of it? But yeah, I'm actually kind of into Sunny. I think Sunny's not in the worst spot that she's been. Purge, that's fine. That is okay. Ooh, that's good. We could actually make HQ a single card if we can just find a Bologna. All we know in hand is a subsidy. So here we just drop the Nexus, right? We drop Nexus. So we want to run, I don't know if we have to do this turn, but we could fire this turn and get their hand down to 1 card. It doesn't seem incredibly necessary. Double leech before and yeah, for sure. Thanos, how's it going? I think we definitely will get that down. And then we're going to trace. So we break the toll booth for 2 credits. It's really good. I think going HQ is better than going R&D. I guess we trace through all things the same. The days are gone. The dark days are gone. The bright days are here. I'm going to go R&D here. We're going to Nexus this, and then we can break Enigma for a credit. Mind you, we get a card and credit on this run. So trace 5 to bypass. That's what this thing does, mind you. We never really mentioned it. But once per turn, when you encounter a piece of ice, you may force the corp to trace 5. So they trace first at the base 5. They can boost into it, and then it goes to us. They usually don't boost, so we pay 2, and we just pay 2 to go through a toll booth. It's obviously really good. Mind you, this cost 8 credits. We have enough to steal Bologna. Turnpike. Oh, we have our Sherman. We're going to be able to break Eula for 1 credit. Okay, so we don't have a run event here. I still think we want to go HQ to get an access for a credit just because it builds these up. And it's, again, so hard to purge this out. But it's likely they have an agenda in hand. So we know they're drawing into a Turnpike. There's a red level in hand, a Turnpike is going to be in hand, and a government subsidy. So that gives us the value of the white hat. This hand, this is good, this is good, this is good, this is good, this is good. All these cards are relatively good. I think the Office Supplies is the worst card. It's a click for 3 credits, while this is 3 credits and an install. Fear the double worm turtle. It's so good. Unknown Matryoshka plus Leech is just as good without making very weak to purge. It's not just as good because you have to get a lot more installs down and it doesn't incentivize you to run and the numbers on it are bad. Like we're breaking 1 for 1 subroutine. Oh, Matryoshka and Leech though. Yeah, I guess so, but you have limited amount of resources. All right, so we actually don't know what this card is. So we know their hand has, the lib account is bad. It's probably not amazing. We probably need to run this. It looks like an NGO front. They only have 2 NGOs out of the game though. This we run again for a trace and credit, so we can run this really easily. In fact, I'd rather, oh, it's cheaper to trace through this thing. Okay, so I think we start there. We want to get this down. We trace through this, break this for 1 credit. We can do it last click, unless this is something that gives us a tag. I don't think we're that worried about it. Yeah, Lib Crew Fear is good. It's just like, I don't know if we want to spend the clicks on this. Technically, all we need is money, and then White Hat will win the game. But we know exactly what's in HQ. We know this is a Turnpike. We know this is a government subsidy. So this is an unknown card. We definitely have to find it. It's unlikely to be the last NGO front, because we've seen 2. But it's the most, looks like most what it is. So I think we just run it. I don't think we have to do anything cute here. We could run last click, but the credit we save, I don't think is worth the risk of like hitting a tag thing. So trace 5. Again, the most they can make this is trace 7, but spending all their money is not a winning combination. So we'll spend 2. And again, this counts about spending money during a run, but it's specifically on corp cards, so we're fine. Okay, it's the last NGO. Sick. So they have a credit lead here. Do we need more card draw or do we just need money from daily cast? I feel like the money here is solved. So we're just going to get these 2 out and then we'll just take 4. Hey, Terrence, I miss Power Tap. Yo, me too. How's it going? I was playing, we're going to have a video up next week about like 419 Power Tap deck without Power Tap. And like the economy is strange. The economy is actually really, really good. I think it's 100% NGO. It does look like 100% like an NGO. But that's a hard thing to check, to not check sometimes. So we know 100% what's in HQ. The White Hats are now currently dead, but we're in a spot where they have to jam in their remote server right away. Unfortunately, their remote server is like reasonable. We have to just like kind of match their economy, which I think we can get away with. So again, this is 2 credits. This can be only 1 credit. We can check that last click. So we'll check it last click. Sherman is not really worth putting down. We know the hand. So I think we empty this, install this, hit this, run, and we dirty laundry it. Yeah, I like this money now. So unfortunately, actually, if we run last click with the dirty laundry, they have the chance to boost into the trace. So we probably shouldn't do that. We don't want to ever run last click because then they can boost into the trace and then put us in a really awkward spot. That seems right. So we'll start here. I think if they do that, like, I don't think we're hard punished by it. We've seen 2 planograms. That's the worst case by a mile. But we just like have no real incentive to put ourselves in that situation. Like we save a credit on the Enigma. I don't think that's worth taking that sort of risk. Again, you should play a single copy Citadel Sanctuary that unfortunately escaped us, just so that we end up with a tag where it's not a risk. We can play like pretty wantonly. And this is the board state where you want the card that trades a click for the top of R&D. That being said, we should just run the top of R&D. Okay, now they have unknown cards in HQ. I am interested in running HQ. We'll still get a card and credit here. Let's see what they shuffle in. Again, a Dawkins Pass, some sort of multi-axis on HQ would be pretty sick. Okay, NGO and Rashida, so stuff for the remote server. I agree with that. Okay, can play this. If we run HQ, it's a 1 in 3. I think we can afford to do that last click. So I'll install Liberated, go down to 8. I think if they hard-hitting use us, we're happy. Again, we have 2 link, it's a 3 link, it's really hard. It's a good one. It's a really good way to deal with Toll Booth. This sort of Nexus thing, and again, playing in a 4-9, these sort of NBN lists, they're running all the on and counter ice. Like, it makes it look really bad. It's a really good matchup for you. It's just, they just have to constantly jam in their remote server. Okay, yeah, we'll definitely trash that. So there's one fewer thing. Again, we know one of the cards in hand. We'll get rid of the third leech. Let's be reasonable. And again, if they purge, it's totally fine for us. Okay, they drew. So they have 2 unknowns in hand. 3 unknowns in hand, excuse me. And unless they're comfortable putting agendas in their remote server, which, like, if they don't have a seamless, they can't put 4 2s in their remote server. They have to jam something in their remote server here, or they'll get white-hatted and probably lose. Oh, they don't. They could hide something in archives underneath the EULA. I think that's a very reasonable play. Okay, career fair for cast. That's nice that we didn't end up playing it. Diesel gets us really deep into the deck. We only have 1 more dirty laundry though, so it's hard to get more value on this run. Ban, Prison, Sunny. It is what it is. Like late game, it's a monster. Let's take some money or run HQ. Well, white hat just to see the hand. Like this card is so powerful. It just gives us information. We'll pay 2. Also, sorry, we've been breaking these Enigma for 1 credit a pop if we have enough money. Enigma team. Headline, okay. We're gonna take a tag. I feel like we can just take that tag. We could white hat now and drop them down to 2 cards at 50-50. I feel like we don't have to take that risk. So we'll just do that. We're on 7 credits. That's enough. We'll career ferry out the money. We don't need another Nexus. Nexus feels very fair compared to Endurance. It is very fair. You pay money. And I think there's some argument whether you want to play Chesva just because 2 credits is exactly what you need to run the central serve every turn. But it's a lot of influence. I think in 419, it feels a bit better. So I still think we just Nexus. We probably want to pinhole this, actually. We just pinhole HQ, and then we can white hat. And so we know what we need to break this. It's funny that we can break this. The same for that. Okay, not anymore. You res Chesva and Sunny for it? Yeah, you could also probably just run multi-threader, though, I reckon. Oh, no, it's only for programs. So we gain 2? Yeah, nice. So no, you actually can't. All right, deuces, we can expose what the size is. I feel like we don't care what the size is. We just Nexus it. But if we end up Nexusing it, I don't think we Nexus it. We can't run server 2. So let's just pinhole HQ. Let's get some money first in case it matters. Chesva's what? 3 influence? It's an F2P. Pay 2 credits. Only if the runner uses ability if they're not tagged. Okay, well, we break that for 2 credits. Okay. Next is also 1 time per turn, which is huge for the fairness. Yeah, I wonder if Endurance being 1 time per turn would like make it reasonable enough. But yeah, 1 time per turn. Like we also have to consider a turn. Like it does make us play better Netrunner inherently. So far, those GS breakers haven't been very useful. We only have 1, and it's specifically to do with EULA. Imagine they had a EULA on server 2 though. We would install it in a pinch, but we only have 1 in the whole deck. It's that one. It's a Rashida. Nice. All right, do we white hat? No, it's up to 2. Yeah, let's white hat. It's up to 2. I didn't realize it was up to 2. So their hand is government subsidy turnpike. Okay. Well, they have no hand no more. Who does that benefit more? I honestly don't know. Let's just get more money. Getting the jack down is reasonable. There's just like no server we really want to jack this turn, right? Like purge here is totally fine for us. This is where we actually install the Sherman and run archives. We could run HQ. Mind you, we can get our Amaku up to strength, but no, this is where we actually do play the Sherman, unironically. Very funny, Sherman. Oh man, the fact that we actually Sherman a EULA for 2 credits is hilarious. Mind you, we could trace through this. It actually is the same cost as this. Am I right? Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. But the amount of clicking I have to do is so much not worth it. Yeah, I think it's 3, right? Influence the Chesva. This is very not good. It is very not good. But yeah, we break that for 2 credits. Sherman through the EULA is so good. Oh, yeah, they did hide an agenda behind there. Of course they did. We were talking about that, how that might be a possibility. Oh, good game. Again, because they had an ugly hand, but like they are playing basically the deck list of the week if they had the kill package, which we didn't see. And they could be playing in this and it'd be fine, right? Like that's all it is. Jam in a remote server, leverage hard 80 news if you can. That was a rough ride. Yeah, Sunny getting set up is real rough for that on and counter eyes. We're lucky we didn't run into an IP block, mind you. You can play a copy of Wastelands so that we don't take the tag on encounter, but then we just end up having to like Security Nexus the IP block. But IP block would have been a nightmare. Eula now. Yeah, we got a tank. How's it going, demo? Having a tank is not very white hat of her. It's a digital tank. I do like how, like, you know, the what's it called? The global security faction has like militarized code. Very on brand. Oh, get out. That's wild. So they're playing blockchain. That wouldn't have mattered, unfortunately. It's also like a very nice target to run a tank into. Would have loved to run a tank into that one. Yeah, blockchain is one of the other barriers that scales subroutines technically infinitely, but that's why they're playing red level clearance, I reckon. Red level clearance has a lot of influence that I find it hard to put like into any. Oh, 2 influence is not that bad. I just feel like it doesn't do enough for like just a generic economy card unless your deck can like really build into usually the bottom mode. Install one non-agenda clicklessly. Is there any link left in the game? Yeah, I think it's just Cyber Trooper and Archivist. I think that's it. And then obviously Nexus. But I don't think there's a lot of link cards anymore. Yeah, Chrissy says too. Sending game plan to win on Centrals generally doesn't depend on the deck. It totally depends on the deck. We could have just played Control and just ran the remote server. Like, imagine how they win if all they have to do is put agendas in the remote server and we have, you know, Security Nexus and all this. Now, I do think the fact that DreamNet exists and we're playing Leech Amakua gives us good reason to like bounce off Centrals continuously. But the idea is like, if we play exposed cards or whatever, we can just know when to run the remote server and then we can get through just about anything, right? Like the most control. Thanks for the game. Hey. Cool. Oh, we got a game in. Yeah, so some of the Sunny decks were like even more control. Like they were like the quintessential late game control deck, but I do think DreamNet was really good for Sunny to actually encourage a lot more running. I do think we need to put a Citadel in the deck though. It feels like such a liability. Let's drop one of the chips. Yeah, Terrence, we're on 2 security chips, just as are like our Dean Lister panic buttons if we get purged out in a pinch. But like, maybe it's not necessary. We'll find out. I worry that relying so heavily on Amaku. Oh, we do have Striker in the deck too. We shouldn't. I don't think we should. Okay, that's a slot. We can play 1, maybe even 2 Citadel. I'm not actually sure. But yeah, Sec Chap, just to get +3 strength to an Amaku, can be like the most important thing. You also saw in this game, like, it was a really good, and it's like, doesn't seem very astounding, but the amount of value that we get off pinhole threading is absurd. Like, not only do we know 100% what we have to run the remote server to go get the agenda, we trashed 2 Rashidas behind a toll booth into Enigma for 1 credit running HQ, right? Trike for Anansi. Oh, yo, Seb, you're right. There's a chance that Anansi is the one thing that we can't deal with easily because if you bypass Anansi, you take 3 net damage. So maybe that's an argument that you do need to play the killer, but I think playing 1 of killer and then trying to find it in a Anansi matchup is probably not a winning line. I think we just rely on Amakua anyways. But you're right. That is like one of the reasons that is one of the like few ice you have to respect that like you can't just what's it called? Nexus through. Ah, GameNet again. Sick. Love GameNet. All right, opening hand. Career for Liberated Counts, and Security Nexus, and Sherman potentially. This deck is probably running Eula. Seems really good. I do think we're likely to run into an IP block in this game, but this hand is good enough. It just doesn't have card draw. Just hush it. That's hard though. It's really hard to hush. Hush is nice though. It just feels like Nexus might not require hush, right? Like you already have built-in hush. Do you need to spend 2 influence on hush? Internet shrugging person ASCII here. 2 GameNet in an evening? I thought we were all agreeing on blank IDs. I don't know how much GameNet Alice got in the last game. Probably some. I think it was just 2 toll booths. That's all that the ability fired. Planogram, game 3. Did London keep? They mauled. Okay, sick. GameNet is arguably blank. Hush is 1 influence? No, it's not. Is it? Is Hush 1 influence? Sick. It's 1 influence. That's not too bad. I'll draw once. Okay. Nice. Alex, how's it going, by the way? I didn't know that. I thought it was 2 influence. Yeah, that's a really good include. I don't know if I'd do it in this deck, considering we have to be able to top deck everything well, considering we're inconsistent. But more importantly, again, Nexus is like a hush. Remember we put 3 leeches in the deck? They were really important to find early. Like, don't get me wrong. All right. Well, if we have money, we can abstractly threaten a Nexus. London Mulligan MTG reference here. That's a good point. All right. So as soon as this day right now, we could consider checking the remote server. I'm not that interested. Again, it could be just seamless launch and then we hit by crypto crash. It's disastrous. If we face check, how bad is it? Tune in today. Probably like a funhouse or something. Turnpike is okay. We have Link. It's 4 credits for a Turnpike. Holy shit, Turnpike. It's a Eula. Oh, it's happened. It's happened. Welcome, my friend Eula. Sorry, I break you for 2 credits. Oh, it's so good when they spend 6 and we break it for 2. I'm just gonna do it manually because it's really tedious. Yeah, Tank was a really good call. I do think this card is worth playing around in the modern meta. NBN decks play consistently. Oh, get it! You're totally right. I never do that. Yeah. No, I think you're right. I'll try next time. Give me a Rashida. Oh, it's poison. We're playing poison. Now, admittedly, this is Trace 4. I don't care to pay 6 credits on this turn. It's glad to know that every deck is secretly a Worry Tracker deck. Ah, I hate this card. We do have Link, though, so like we should be okay into it. Yeah, Warrior Tracker in every deck meta like kind of just makes enough sense. Like the runner generally pays 8 credits for this card that you spent 2 on. Like, why not? Do you have cards in remote servers you care about? Yeah, then why not? They're gonna keeling us, right? All right, we just have to set up and get a late game inevitability so we don't lose to this. Running HQ is reasonable enough, but I think we're gonna set up. Warrior stat against Sunny, 3 links is not a joke. We're only at 2 link, and even then, it's still the numbers on this are phenomenal. Like they pay 2, we pay 6. Yeah, we'll deuces for draw. Oh, that's really good. So we career fair that down. Unfortunately, we're not going to get its value, and I think its value is better than the jack. This is hard. If that's a Rashida, they'll probably have ice for all central servers, so the jack isn't worth it. I think we probably run and throw out the office supplies. Like a card and a credit for a single click is really good here when we're setting up. Okay, is that worse than office supplies? 4 credits to draw 2 is terrible. 4 credits, yeah, that's probably not that good. I honestly don't know if office supplies is worth it. Yeah, it is Rashida. That's a nightmare. That's really bad. We just need another Liberated. Again, we need more of our mass money. We drew both Liberateds last game, but we did actually draw the majority of our deck last game. But I feel like they might go a bit faster. That was click 1 in their remote server. That means it's a good card, am I right? Like, should you just play Worried in any mid-range HP deck? Like Worried Managarm? Again, Miss Bones is also a card that can show up in Sunny decks, and I think it's a very good card for 2 influence. It's a second Worried. It might be. Every time we see Office, we think it's the worst card in hand. Might slot something different next one. Yeah, it's like hard, but I think you're right. I think I'd be very happy cutting Office supplies. A click for 2 credits, even click for 3 credits in the mid game is like not good enough. Yeah, that makes sense. Isn't office supplies pay 2, draw 4 here? Oh my god, yeah. It's pay 2, draw 4. That's actually good. That's actually really good. I thought the card draw scaled, not the cost. Yeah, that's like very doable. I should have kept that card. That was one of the better cards in our hand. Oops. Oops. Let's run HQ. We want to force him to spend some money here. Shit. This thing's absurd for 2 credits. We just lost 4 credits and they paid 2. This is a snap res ice. I don't know why this exists. This will be banned. It's a spin doctor. We hit a spin doctor. I don't want to trash the spin doctor while there's a spin doctor. Okay. So we just need to get enough money that we feel comfortable nexusing. It's not this turn, and they still could be like a hard-hitting news deck. I feel like we just don't do much. Office supplies is a draw card that sometimes is an easy mark. Sometimes being an easy mark isn't great. But 1 to draw 4 is fair. 2 to draw 4 is fair too. I think both of those are actually pretty good. I wasn't realizing the card text on this. I thought the card draw scaled. That it was like 4 to draw 2 for some reason. If this corp is worried, forced connection. Oh, it might be actually. Yeah, I think Bob was playing a list like that on the channel. That it was like worried forced. It's a sunny field day. It's not that easy, but yeah, this does look like a forced connection deck. So yeah, we just want to get our Nexus down to get Link and play it as an economy card. But this deck is inherently, it doesn't have to be really slow because it does just like jam up Bolognas. But this looks like a trace thing. If we can draw into the thing that clicklessly clears a tag, would be pretty happy about it. But like Link only stacks so well into that. Again, I don't love ideas like this that like disincentivize interaction. I feel like they lead for board states like this where we both just play setup, but hey. I think we can dirty laundry server 1. We pay a credit to get a credit and a card. This is bad. Our money is interaction base. Mental image of Sunny lighting the fire is cracking me up. Burn it down, go home, make dinner. Yo, you don't go hard into your day job? You have to go that hard. You didn't have to go that hard. I think we pay this, we go into 5 credits, we're in an ugly spot, but I don't know if it's a hard-hitting news list or not. The chip is like really whatever here. The burst card draw of this would have been good. I think we can consider poking. The problem is if we end up with a tag, we're in a really bad spot. Respect macrophage. Oh, the deck actually does have macrophage in it. The deck 100% has macrophage in it. If it's the sort of like, what's it called? What is the grid that boosts all your traces? That's what this deck probably is. This is clickless, but I don't think we really want it. Whatever. We should have clicked for a credit there, just throwing out a bad card. Rutherford, thank you, Daijin. Yeah, this probably is the Rutherford reverse connections deck. Because there's not a lot of people that are excited to play GameNet. All right, what turn is it? Are we scoring out yet? Turn 7. Economy in shambles. Okay, looks like a Bellona. How do we deal with that? We could consider dirty laundering archives. If we have to Nexus that, we have to Nexus that. Now, if we run this, I don't know what the upgrade could be. I think it's a forced connection. I think we can let them have a single agenda. We don't have a lot of interest in a leech on this board state. So let's just hope that they have to spend like 4 or 5 credits on this. I don't know what the other agenda suite is. Like if it actually is a crypto crash, we're in a bad spot. No further action. Oh, sick. That's a lot of good value. We got a white hat. Okay. 11 credits. This is 2. We basically can probably run this. I don't know how bad it could be. Let's find out together. How bad could it be, right? It might be a Prysac. That's like ugly. I think it could be an NGO front. I feel like they'd be more comfortable. I don't know how they score out behind a Nexus if that's not an NGO front. So I'm going to respect. That's free. Earthrise is good. Yeah, they can have it. If we go down to 0 credits for a crypto crash, we'll probably be singing a different tune. Oh, shit. We could have ran it. No respect. Oh, hold on. I need to do the Earthrise first. It doesn't actually matter. But always you should see the cards first, I think. Unless you're worried about taking that damage. Here they can res. But I'm assuming they're going to spend more money than we are on the Nexus. And this run, we can always let the thing fire. But now they're like forced to spend money here and we get a card and a credit. All right, cool. We drew a really bad hand. Now here we can white hat. This is where we start to need an Amakua, but I think the most important thing here we could probably do is just click for 3 credits. Like we had 2 dead cards. Clicking for 4 credits is like totally fine. All we need is money. We're getting free card draw. Our board is set up largely. Oh yeah, it's optional. Yeah, I messed up. I should draw first, but you stack your beginning of turn triggers to your whim. Yeah, exactly. So you always do daily cast first, right? So you have more money for the trace, but whether you do Earthrise or not, in some ways, if you're worried about taking that damage, you might want to protect your deck. So, but yeah, it's not like we have a mandatory draw. All right, so if we have enough money, we should be able to contest server 1. Again, we can deal with a single piece of ice and a EULA, no problem. The question is whether we can deal with whatever else is in server 1. So that's why we're just going to hoard money here, as uninteresting as that is. But we're getting 2 card draw, sometimes 3 card draw, and 3 credits at the start of the next turn if we jack archives. Now it's up to them to make it awkward where we have to feel like we have to Nexus archives so that we can't Nexus server 1. And they're definitely running IP block. Okay, 3rd ice means that we have to force some sort of issue on the remote server. All right, so here we're going to do the order right. We'll do Daily Cast, we'll do Earthrise. Okay, we'll make a run on archives. Okay, career fair. So we don't have another breaker to deal with this. We always can pay through that, but it doesn't mean anything. So they need to have 2 code gates in a row. We have 3 Yamaku's and 26, which is pretty ugly, and we have no tricks for the remote server. Again, Boomerang sometimes shows up in these lists. We'll just force the issue. It looks like it's an agenda. We just have to hope that some of this is like non-end the run. All right, so it is a Rutherford grid, and it is an IP block. So this is now a trace 5 on this ice. So we can either pay for it for 2 credits, and they get a credit. So this is the deck, or we can break this for 4. They can just fire trace 5. That's all this does. Yeah, that's all that it does. And we know that there's no traps in the remote server. So this is totally fine. So this is trace 5 for a tag. We have 17 credits and 3 link. So that's better than nothing. But I don't even know if we have to deal with the Rutherford. So now we know we can get this remote server. Funny enough, this actually the Rutherford grid will make this a trace 7 on the Nexus. That's actually kind of ugly. Is that what it does? Oh my God, it makes Nexus trace 7. It's our natural enemy. That's really funny. Now, if we spend credits, which we will, they gain a credit from GameNet. So trace 3. I don't know what math they did here. But 14 credits should be enough to get through all of this. Yeah, we are hard countered. Maybe we don't have to Nexus here. You have 7 credits, so they're short of toll booth. It's an F2P. So here we can pay 4 or we can trace 5. That's a lie. Why would you lie to us? So funny enough, if we do trace 7, we pay 4. That's the same cost as this. It is 7. That's so funny. Oh man, that's so wild. We have a liberated count, though. We'll recover from this. Yeah, I know. I can't believe it's not just corp cards. That's really funny. So we'll pay 4. They don't get a credit from this. And we can't really afford for the Rutherford grid. Again, I don't know if it's actually going to cost us more money in the long run. It probably will. Let's do this. Oh, shit. So, yeah, the break all subroutine button doesn't work. Yeah, so the button doesn't work. So we should have used... Not like that. Oh, they should have... Okay, they're good. Let's see if this is an NGO front or not. It's a Bologna. Yeah, we'll pay to steal it. We have to access all cards in the server. We have no interest in trashing these. Worry tracker, no, we're fine. Fully breaks... Is that not what I hit? I feel like I hit that button. Did I not hit that button? So we can recover from this relatively well. So here, the mad dash is really important. If we pinhole that, we can see if it's a blown and then we can win off of that mad dash. That's great. White hat is good. They don't have a lot of money. I think the leech is the worst card in the hand. On your breaker, I don't think it works on the breaker because this is any number barrier subroutine, so it asks you. I don't know if there's a break all on this button, but we'll try it again. Because I'm pretty sure we did that last time on this. Maybe I'm wrong. We'll find out. I just don't know if the ones that have like variability scaling work with the break all. They probably do. So we pinhole this to see if we need it. If it's a Rashida, it comes down. If it's not a Rashida, it doesn't come down. Good thing you have no interest given your finances. All right, we'll draw 2 first. Make a run. We can't like do the dirty laundry. We would if we could. All right. So let's pinhole. Let's see what this is. If it's a Bologna, we can win. No res. I wonder if it's just like an IP block. It's an intake. What? That's fine. Trace 4. If successful, add installed program or virtual resource to the grip. Ignore this ability. Wait, what? Oh my God. Oh, the Rutherford doesn't fire. The base trace of this trace during a run on the server is increased by 2. Oh, get out. That's wild. So we don't want to trash this because it triggers the Warroid. But the intake for us, well, we definitely boost the trace. So now if we want to trash it, we have to do another trace 4 for Warroid, which isn't on the server. So yeah, we might as well. Because here they can do trace 4, and the Rutherford also doesn't fire. Because Rutherford's only during a run on that server. That's a very weird thing. A Sweet 8. Yeah, no, I think I have to hit this for sure. There's a chance we didn't have to hit this button. But now in theory, they can boost into it. We just end up trashing our worst cards, which would be like security chip. So again, this doesn't boost the trace. That's really funny. Okay, what do we want to get down? I think we just want to get these down. I don't want to go too low in credits. I honestly don't know if we need the card draw that much more. We can consider dirty laundering archives, but like, at that point, do they res? No, let's do it. They didn't res before. And if they'd res here, like we probably just slam archives. Or sorry, R&D. Okay, so either we can get free card draw or free credits. We're getting good credits and card draw off the DreamNet. I think in terms of card draw, what else do we can get into? We haven't played a single sure gamble. I think that's going to decide this. We're just sunnying along. We're just absolutely trucking along. And you see, again, pinholes are so good. You don't have to run the remote server. You play control. White hat. I think white hat's only important if we're trying to close the game out, but like, I don't want to run HQ. Earthrise first to see what we draw into. Okay, office supplies now is money or a lot of card draw. We'll make a run on archives. There's some reason why we have to run this. We could white hat and see if they have seamless launches. I think that's actually really important because they seem to be on 4-2s. Yeah. In theory, we should hit the money card first before we white hat. Let's white hat. So now it's trace 3 to see their hand, and we can shuffle 2 cards back. So if we see a seamless launch in hand, which is what they need to score at a 4-2, we can get rid of that. That being said, this is likely to be a Rashida, let alone any of the traps they're playing. So we don't boost. So we see their hand. So there's a freedom of information in there. NGO front, Spin Doctor, Hard A News. So we don't care about those two. So we'll get rid of the Spin Doctor and NGO front. So the question is, what's in the remote server? We know what it costs to run HQ. There's probably some sort of trick here, but it's a 50-50 to hit a 4-2, which will put us on game point. I think on 14 credits, we can probably afford to do that. And then we can probably boost whatever. The trace on whatever's on HQ is not going to be very good. So let's just go HQ here. Again, I wish we had a Dawkins pass, though, so we can make these like white hats into guaranteeds. Oh, it's another Rutherford. Oh, very cute. Okay. So this would be trace 7. This is actually ugly. So I think this is 4 to break, or it's going to be trace 5. Why not letting agenda NGO run twice to get the agenda? Oh, so we could trash the NGO and go back. I think that's also very fair. I just thought the Harding News was a dead draw, but you're right. Yeah, we should probably just do the trashable. I don't think it's going to be possible to run back, though. We're not very good at running back. All right, we'll trace 5 there. That's cheaper. We bake for 2. Actually, for what it's worth, the leech would be good because then we get through the IP block for 2, but we don't give them a credit. Here they could probably boost. They did it last time. Trace 7. Okay, thinking. I missed Sunny Deck building. Oh, sorry, River. I think there's some tweaking we can do. Earthrise, keep digging for turtle. It's hard now to get turtle down with 2 IP blocks up. It actually probably isn't worth it. So it's 4 here. And if we don't, we take a tag. The tag we can clear with Deuce's Wild, but we give them no credits. The question is, how do we get through this? I think we get through this for just more money. Yeah, we'll take the 50-50. Pay with your breaker. It's too late now. I didn't think they'd boost into it. But if we didn't boost into it, we'd break for 4 anyways, but we wouldn't give them credits. They're just tapping your credit by credits not being broken. We're not breaking it, but they get a credit because we spend during a run, right? On one of their cards. Trace 5 to bypass current ice? No. We'll just take the tag on this one. 50-50? Not even a chance. We're not going to trash that. I don't think. So here we'll remove the tag, gain 3 credits. Seems good. At this point in time, the Mad Dash is now a blank card because I don't think they're playing 1-pointers. I think we're shooting server 1 might surprise us. It could only be the tomorrow's headline, if anything else, but it's probably one of their like weird many upgrades. And I'm assuming they're on Force Connection. So they have a hard-hitting news, 2 unknown cards. At some point, they have to res on archives, and when we do, we go R&D. In fact, we probably should go R&D. What's that? Let's get a pinhole threading off the top. Let's get a pinhole threading off the top. Earthrise. Make a run. Yeah, we can still get a pinhole off this. We have 2 and 18. Yeah, 2 and 18. Citadel's good. That's definitely good. So if we want to get a pinhole off the top, we can draw 4 for a credit. This seems good. We probably have too many cards in hand. If they score out a Bologna here, how upset are we? Only slightly. We can also get their hand into 100% an agenda. Is that worth looking for? We know hard-hitting news and 2 unknowns. And if they had an agenda remote server, they have to advance. I think we can consider white hatting here. It's not the best value, but we can put the game at 100% win. But I do think drawing for the pinhole is actually pretty reasonable. So here again, we can shuffle up to 2 cards back. So if they're holding an agenda, we just run HQ, break, let it take a tag, who cares? So they could boost all the way into this, and I feel like they have an agenda hand if they're thinking. Maybe we should have not given, we didn't do any math, but we could have dirty laundry archive first, so we'd have 3 more credits. This makes me think they have an agenda in hand. And again, if they boost all the way into this, at this point we waited 2, so they can't pop an NGO front in server 1 to boost into this, but we probably should have done the math a bit better. Here they can make it 11. No, they can't make it impossible. We have more money than them. Because it's trace 3, we start at 3, we have 11, they have 8. And again, they can't NGO front. We waited long enough. Trace 7, okay, let's figure out what's in hand. A Bologna. All right, interesting. So the winning agenda is the only card in HQ. We have to get in with exactly 5 credits. So how do we get there? We can break this for 2 credits. We can let that fire. So that will be 3 credits. And then we just credit weekend. I think I can keep you out if you click for credits. No, we can't. Yeah, credit run does it. Because this is 2 credits. This is 1 credit. We win. Like we could always like, well, let's just do this because we don't need to. Gain 4. We could even like style by dirty laundering. That's a problem though. No. So this is also like, I don't think we needed it. Oh. We don't even need office supplies. We can just click for credit. But like, that's why we have this. The security ship actually saves us 2 credits on this run. Oh shit. It's a cloud breaker. Oh. Yeah, that's it. Whew. Sometimes easy mark is good when it was a different card until now. It didn't actually matter. But yeah, White Hat is such a good card. It is such an absurdly good card. Let's just get our Nexus in there. Credit perfect. Good game. Oh man, Rutherford interaction is hilarious. Yeah, eh? Amakuo would have been wrong. Okay, so traces mattered in this. The 2 link helped. It doesn't solve it. Like it just saved us a credit like in a couple places. But all this stuff too, we can consider breaking. Like we always could have broke this for 4. We didn't actually need the thing. I think I fed you the Bologna, the first one. Oh, I don't remember what happened there. The early Sherman was so critical. Imagine I didn't have that one of in my opening. Wait, they could have boosted into the Nexus trace, Lamau? Yeah, they could have, but if they did, oh yeah, we would have lost the game. Yeah, we should have Nexused. We should have just done the trace. If they Nexus and boosted into it, either we would end the run or lose. Yeah, it was 100% way incorrect to do it. We should have just taken the tag and lost the credit. But yeah, we did that. It was wrong, but they didn't like get us. The deck kind of relies on seamless launches and force connection, not drawing until it's too late. Yeah, Sherman was nice. Oh, I was thinking you were on seamless. It was the only real reason I fired the first white hat. White space would have been good too. Honestly, white space we break for, well, if we don't have a decoder down or Amakua, we break for 3 credits, right? Like that's again another difference between Enigma and white space is we can just go through white space for 3 credits as long as we have enough money. I read white hat the other day, but I didn't really understand it. Yeah, so any card that forces a trace on the runner side is a bit confusing because how the trace works is the corpse starts with trace 3 and then you boost. And then if unsuccessful is text written on the corpse side. So basically if the runner wins the trace, you get the ability. It's how all the runner trace cards are. They're really, really, really unintuitive. Oh, that's a, oh, wild. I threw out my mad dash. So there was a 15 minutes since everyone. And yeah, it seems like there was a toll booth in archives, which made sense because if that was any mid-range ice, an IP block, probably not worth rezzing, but if it was like a turnpike, white space, and Enigma, they would have rezzed it. So this had to be a behemoth. Even if it was an Eula, I think there's some cases they might consider rezzing it, but clearly you can't, like we got so much free Jack DreamNet value is absurd. Yeah, they could have got blown out in the remote server. Yeah. Thanks for the game. GG's. Cool. I think it's pretty representative of what Sunny Deck can do. I think the NBN matchup, especially some of the slower decks, were kind of a really good spot for Sunny, right? Like we deal with a lot of the trace-based dice relatively well. All the NBN decks are like very well defined by on and counter stuff, and we can dance around that great. If you also want to play other stuff too, it's like it's not incredible to play Hunting Grounds, and I think we probably it's Hunting Grounds. We probably should if our deck is relying this heavily on Amakua. Hey, Kat, how's it going? How you been? Yeah, this sort of card is really, really nice too. It feels in some ways a bit redundant when we're already like really good at bypassing ice and not taking the on and counter stuff. But this is the only ways that we can deal with Amakua into IP blocks, and NBN decks are definitely like by design playing IP blocks. I don't really believe that it's that present in other identities because I don't think it lines up well unless you have legitimate tag punishment. So yeah, it's good, but there's ways to deal with it for sure. I think also if we had the Code Gate Breaker in our deck, like maybe we would play it. I don't know if we do. The numbers on it aren't fantastic. Is it 2 strength? It's 1 strength. So like we break Enigma for 4 credits. That's terrible. So you just hopefully never install this. Oh wait, this is the killer. What is the other one? Shrike? Or Striker, excuse me. Oh, it's right there. Yeah, we break Enigma still for 4 credits. That's terrible. That's really, really quite bad. But maybe you use your security chip to boost them all +3 strength. But again, that's definitely not worth doing. This thing looks like it's from Final Fantasy. I don't know what this is meant to look like. A Shrike is a kind of bird. What is a striker? Is it a bird? Turbine Sunny Time? These breakers are not terrible. Like 2 + 3 strengths, that's kind of, it's not great. But there is some chance that, right, like if you get these breakers down, you're breaking all subroutines for 2 credits and it's like 3 strength. I don't know if that's good enough. That's probably worse than just playing anything else, but yeah. I want to like her breakers. Her breakers are never meant to be good, but I think it makes a lot of sense in the balance where it's like her focus is Nexus and then everything around that is just like a support piece you need to use in a pinch if you have to. I played a Turbine Sunny deck and did not have the money to live. I think if you're going out your way to play Turbine, like you might as well just play 2 Buzzsaws for 2 influence at that point, right? Like it doesn't really make any sense. I sometimes consider importing Sherman, but always end up on Cleaver instead. Yeah, Cleaver, for what it's worth, does something very, very similar to Sherman. The numbers are better in a lot of ways. Just the numbers are better. So I wouldn't be surprised if that's right to do that anyways. For what it's worth, there were metas where like Sherman had some good legs. And again, anytime you see a meta that the barriers get out of control, like Hive was kind of popular. Not that you broke Hive that cheaply. 4 credits for Hive doesn't feel good. But I think Eula is like the best case. And if you find somebody like mess-fingoing you really hard, you feel good on Sherman. But again, Cleaver doesn't deal with that much worse. Yeah, Cleaver Buzz probably a better package with Turbine. Definitely, 100%. If there's any Sunny breaker that was worth knowing, is that there was a meta in which people unironically splashed Shrike out of faction in like Shaper decks. And that's because 2 credits to break any number 70 subroutines on 1 strength was actually like very good. Classically in the design of Netrunner, Sentries were the ice that had the most subroutines. So you saw a lot of cards like Komainu in theory has 5 net damage subroutines, sometimes even more. So breaking that for 2 credits was really good. But then the best one by a mile was Tour Guide, was ubiquitous in a meta where acid decks were unfortunately also ubiquitous. So the fact that you broke Tour Guide for 2 credits was just the biggest deal possible. So Shrike actually did see spot, or is that what the killer is? Shrike? That one actually did see unironic splashing at some point in Netrunner. They help with influence. Adam needing to import everything is sometimes really expensive info-wise. In terms of having breakers in faction? Yeah, no, they help. But like, I do think some of the best Sunny decks just don't play their Sunny breakers. They're just not worth it. Like, it's really hard to see a board state where this is better than spending some small amount of influence on something that does it better. It's a toll booth meta currently. I don't know if I would say it's a toll booth meta currently. I don't know if there's any evidence for that. I don't even think a toll booth meta makes sense if Anarchs are playing Botulus. And then Boomerang is still a thing. I do think Hunting Grounds feels really good. And again, I was playing Nexus Hunting Grounds 409 and it felt really, really good. So who knows? Unless it's a mono bulwark meta. Dolls are very interesting for all the minis. Yeah, dolls are kind of cool. Diogen posted a list that has Matryoshka in it for Sunny. Yeah, I don't know how I feel about it. You still run into the issue with IP block, just a tag issue, because you can always trace through it. But I feel like, I don't know. I like the one-shot solution, Getting a lot of installs down, taking 6 deck slots in your Sunny deck feels a bit difficult. Technically, it's the biggest deck, so you're least consistent to find your second Matryoshka, the one that matters. But again, I do really much appreciate the sort of breaker suites that are like not all as reliable on the basis that you have the Nexus to back you up. So I think that's pretty cool. Dolls are easier to find than Turtle. Technically, but I don't know if the math works out that it's easier to find 2 dolls more than it is to find 1 turtle. Yeah, we can run that actually. That's a good question. Hypergeometric. Metropole Classic. Drawing Matryoshka from 50 cards sounds like a disaster waiting to happen. You also can play Mutual Favor, mind you, in Sunny. It's only, I think, 2 influence. Or SMC for 3. So population size 50. Do we have 6 successes? We'll find what our sample size is to be at a 50% chance to draw into 2 Matryoshkas, right? So say we draw 7 cards. We have a 20% chance to find 2 Matryoshkas. So how many cards do we have to draw to be 50? About 14 cards we have to draw to find a bit less. So you need draw about 13 to 14 cards to find 2 Matryoshkas. Okay, so what about if we do 3 successes and then we only need to find 1? It's easier. Oh, it's much easier. About 10. Yeah, that seems big. That seems really, really big. Yeah, I don't know. The numbers don't support it. So I don't know. That being said, though, like Matryoshka has some upsides, right? Like you're not limited by strength. You're just limited by economy. And it still works equally well with Leech. It's not necessary, but yeah. The problem is that most Matryoshka you don't want to install, which is a lot of the tutors do. Oh yeah, I wouldn't Mutual Favor for Matryoshka. That seems ridiculous to me. I feel like Matryoshka, you're better just increasing your card draw. But if you have like 3 Amakuas, increasing your card draw is definitely less powerful than increasing tutor effects. Like if you're on Amakua and you really wanted it, maybe a Mutual Favor. And then also it allows you to pull the Sherman in the matchups where it makes sense. But yeah, I would not find tutor effects for a Matryoshka because they don't really make sense. Yeah, the numbers. That's cool. This card's cool though. I also do think Matryoshka is better in decks that have like a reason to get accesses now. And I don't think Sunny's exactly that deck. Like Amakua is a bit more of a build strategy to it. Works really well with DreamNet as well. And I think like the fact that we get more value off Jack and DreamNet and Leech and Amakua all in one run makes maybe a bit more sense than with Amakua than Matryoshka. Not that you can't play DreamNet and Leech, and you probably do. Yeah, neat. I'm surprised the numbers are that different. 3 extra card draw to find your breaker is like kind of awful. Like it's very meaningful. I mean, Matryoshka Adam might be a real thing. Yeah, I could see that a bit better because Adam just wants to get cards out of its hand anyways, right? You want to just get them on the table. Lots of corp run with virus. Yeah, totally. And if that's the case, you just use your Nexus. Like, I don't think it'll lose you the game. It might be a bit of a setback. But again, also that's why I think if we're running Amakua, I will run a copy of the chip or 2, the security chip. Just for panic. But yeah, no, it's not safe. I do think you take risks, but I don't think you can play Netrunner safely without taking any risks regardless. Right? Like, equally, how do you play Matryoshka into border control? You can't. That sucks. So, that's hard. Cool. I think that's it for tonight. I know my partner has to wake up really early, so we sometimes sneak in another game around 11:30, but I think that's gonna be it for today. Hopefully you're doing well. I had my circuit opening last week, and it was just always it's like the coolest thing when you leave, you know, you're in a room and you're playing Netrunner for like a couple hours, and then the next thing you want to do is just play more Netrunner. So that's so cool. So I'm really into it. I'm going to be sending out the prize support. Apologies that hasn't come out yet, but that should be in the mail next week. So if you played in our event, we're going to have some new events, mind you. We have to organize new events in the near future. We have a circuit opener that we have to organize in the summer. I'm going to try and wait for the new cards. We might do it on like release date or the next date, barring like, we have to wait to make sure the cards are coming out and JNet works. I think that's going to be really important. And then we have another GNK that we're going to be running online. So stay tuned for that. We'll pick a date. Thanks for the stream. Yeah. Hey, cheers, Cody. My current Sunny deck is running 3x self-modifying code and World Tree for all the tutoring. That's a totally different deck. That's probably an interesting deck, but not the straightforward Sunny deck. How did you go? Oh, the CO? Oh, I had a great time. I got swept really hard my first round and then got a bye, and then we just submarined up and we ended up in second place. So we got all the good alt-arts, but we didn't get the invitational, which I'm really kicking myself. Last year I didn't play the invitational, but I got the invitational invite, and I could have just applied for the invitational and paid the like whatever the entry fee is, and I would have got sick alt-arts, and I did not do that, and I'm kicking myself. So I have to learn to do that a bit better. Will you be doing an Arkham stream? Yes. Not a stream so much as videos. We have the channel. Unfortunately, I ran into a speed bump trying to get all the art and stuff together for the channel because I don't know. I don't want to start a channel that has no graphics on it. It's a weird thing where I probably should just put the content up and then later do branding. But yeah, I'm looking to finish the rest of that campaign that I started with Jeff and then start making content from there. But probably a month away, maybe a bit sooner. Probably a bit sooner, honestly. That'd be great. Congrats on doing great in the tournament. Thanks for streaming. Hey, cheers, Chrissy. Appreciate it. Night to everyone. Hopefully you're doing well. If you have some events this weekend, best of luck. Let us know how it goes. And we'll be back with a deck dive on a Nexus deck, I think as soon as Monday. So hoping to get that out. Take care, y'all.